Hello everyone, you're listening to Sam's podcast. I am Sam Gavin, and I am joined today by some very good friends of mine, Kirk, Beattie, and Anthony Polinick. Say hello everyone.
Hey guys.
Hey everybody, how we doing?
And we have returned to do another overview of 2016. We've done one of these pretty much every year since, I think it was 2013. We've been doing it for quite a while now. Yeah, we're going to talk movies. But first, we are going to have a very brief discussion of how we thought our years were overall. So, Anthony, how has your year been?
It was a good year overall. Had a lot of fun. A lot of friends visiting. New job. Lots of money. There was some not so great stuff overall. There's a lot of dying, a lot of terrorism, and a lot of sadness. But overall, for me, it was just another year. So I guess it was fine.
Fair enough. Kirk?
Yeah, I had a pretty good year. I guess we look at a lot of the nonsense that was going on, politics in all three of our countries, and all of our favourite old celebrities dying. It was. I guess there was some sadness in the year, but I got to admit I had a really good year. Obviously, I was at WrestleMania, like Anthony said. That was a dream come true. I always wanted to go to WrestleMania. That was amazing. I saw a lot of pro wrestling last year, actually. Traveled to New Zealand to watch wrestlers from Japan. Not something that I've ever thought I was going to do.
Every time I go on your Instagram, you're posting a picture of a wrestling match.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I go to so much now. It's funny, but I had a really good year. Obviously, I guess what's funny, I will talk about this real quick. When we did, I guess early last year or mid last year, we did the retrospective on The Flash. And at the beginning, Sam said, I guess we're all done with this show now. I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to give this another shot because of the cliffhanger. We are now 2017, and I'm the only one that didn't even watch any part of the new season of The Flash. So, yeah, I just wanted to bring that up for continuity's sake.
I think I got 4 episodes in, maybe 3. I can't remember.
And are you still watching, Sam?
Yeah, but I don't. It's not good. I still find entertainment out of it, but it's. What else are you gonna do on a Wednesday evening?
Sam, there's an episode of. I know you probably don't watch any, but Legends of Tomorrow.
I watched the mid-season finale, which I actually thought was really good.
There's an episode that just came out recently, called Raiders of the Lost Art. Do you know anything about this episode?
No.
Well, it's about them going back in time and meeting George Lucas.
Oh, yes, I heard about this. Yeah, it sounded like complete fan service.
Well, we just watched it, and it was one of the worst things we'd ever seen.
Oh, God.
So I recommend you check it out, because it is just absurd and ridiculous and kind of amazing.
Yeah. I saw an episode of Arrow recently where Oliver Queen makes a speech and he goes... Oh, it was like a Christmas episode, and he goes, "My favourite Christmas movie is actually Die Hard." And everyone laughs. It's like, ah. And it's just another one of those, we understand you, fans.
What a novel concept. Yeah. Die Hard, a Christmas movie? I've never heard that before.
Yeah. So, and then the second I heard they were doing a George Lucas thing, it's fuck off.
It ends with him shouting up into the stars, "I want to direct."
I want to direct!
Oh, God. Who did they get to play him? Is anyone notable?
No, some guy that looked a little too Spanish, as Kirk put it.
Yeah, he doesn't. He's too tan to be George. And what's funny is, at the beginning, in his first scene, I'm like, oh, you know what? His voice isn't bad. He kind of has a young-sounding George Lucas voice.
Hi,
and then
I'm
for the rest of the
George
episode, just... I guess that was the first scene they filmed. Or maybe the last. It was like, I should.
Oh shit, maybe I should do.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Oh, that's funny. Well, my year... I can't think of anything. The only noticeable thing I can think of is I broke a bone in the summer, which was not fun. But and it made me cancel a holiday that I'd booked the next day. with my partner, which was it was icing on the cake. But in the end, we did indeed go on holiday just before the summer was over. And I've just been studying. We've been making films, some of which have been good, some of which have been shit. It's just getting on with stuff, really. But I thought the blockbusters this year were quite underwhelming. Only one in particular, which we will get to, that I thought genuinely lived up to, I don't want to say hype, but actually delivered in a kind of satisfying way. But a couple, but not many.
What's funny to me is when had a look at, like, we compiled films that we saw, and going into compiling that list, I was thinking, it's going to be a short list. I feel like I didn't see anything last year besides, the major blockbusters, most of which were comic book films. And it turns out I saw more than I thought, much as you, Sam, but I saw more than I thought. It was kind of a weird film, and I feel like there was very few of the films I really loved. I guess that I feel like I saw a lot of good films. I definitely saw a fair share of some of the worst films I'd ever seen.
Right, so shall we get started? The first one that we have that all of us saw, and that will probably get a good discussion going, Deadpool.
Okay.
So the internet will hate us because none of us thought this was anything special. I personally thought this was far blander and safer and just underwhelming than it should have been. Everyone pretended everyone claimed that it was this revolutionary movie and it's going to change the genre, and I just thought it was incredibly meh and safe, and it didn't deserve any of the supposed rave reviews for its risk-taking. I still thought it was a fine movie. Wasn't amazing. It was, it had some... I laughed at about 2 jokes. It was a fun, colourful, or reasonably colourful superhero movie. And Ryan Reynolds is good in... Yeah, Red. Ryan Reynolds is good in the role. I like Negasonic Teenage Warhead and Colossus. Beside that, I didn't find much to... I don't know, it's because it's been so, praised that I feel like I need to bring it down a notch. I do think it's a good movie, but in terms of what you can do with the Deadpool movie, really not that impressive.
Part of me goes, it's pretty cool that they made a Deadpool film, considering all of the stuff that went on. Like, Deadpool was a film that they were looking at making back in 2004, and put him into X-Men Origins, and that was meant to basically, he was meant to spin off, and that didn't happen, and they sewed up his mouth, and they did a poor version of the character, and everyone got mad, even though most of the people that probably didn't even. But that film, in a way, X-Men Origins was the best thing to happen to Deadpool, because it made people aware of character and really want to see a proper version of him on screen. And they play it too safe, I think they probably did, but I guess in terms of making something that was like a Hollywood version of Deadpool, while still keeping some of the key elements of the character very true, like the ball breaking and the violence and all that, they definitely did that. And I, for Deadpool fans, I say good for you that actually got made. I've never really been a Deadpool fan. He's never really been my thing. So the sense of humor is not for me. Once again, I think it's cool that fans of Deadpool got a film that they love, but I'm not the target audience, and I didn't really care for it. I do think it's overrated, but people really seem to love it. And in terms of it changing how comic book movies or how films are made or what have you, I mean, look, we're already getting an R-rated brain film, and that might not have happened if Deadpool didn't make so much money. It made a ridiculous amount of money.
It did.
So we're obviously in the minority in terms of people who don't like this film. Like there's, people love this film. People clearly saw this film multiple times. People who have never heard of Deadpool, now it's their favorite superhero. So it definitely did something right. I didn't care for it. It's not for me. But hey,
they got it. They got what they wanted, and I can be happy for that. But yeah, the main hatred, if you can call it that, comes from the fact that there's so many people claiming that, like you said, this is going to change everything, and it's the best thing ever made, and oh my god, isn't it crazy that it got it made? It's like, well, no, it's just a movie, and not a lot of crazy stuff happened with it. Not like this is a culmination of all these different things coming together to make this perfect film experience. It was just like, oh, wow. Like even to a point with other things, like, there's certain complaints that should be applied to this film that people don't use. One of them, as far as X-Men fans have been hearing for a long time, people that like us that like the movies, leather suits.
Yeah.
How many times have we heard, oh, just stupid singer films and their leather suits, this is stupid. What did Deadpool wear in the film? A leather suit.
Yeah. What does Deadpool make fun of about the Green Lantern in the movie?
It's
Making the suit
animated.
Animated. His face is animated in the film. He's got the eyes.
He's got an animated leather suit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. The movie constantly takes jabs at conventions of the genre, and then proceeds to adhere to those conventions. I mean, like his in the trailer, what's her name? Black Cat? Not Black Cat. Copycat? Is that her name?
Oh,
yeah.
The Gina Carano.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like she says in the trailer, "Oh, I'm not a damsel in distress," but that is exactly what she becomes. And Deadpool frequently says, "I'm not a superhero," but he's completely motivated by. He's got a completely heroic motivation to save the woman he loves and stuff like that. And I don't know. I felt that it's cool that it got made. But I mean, with the fourth wall breaking and all the things you can do with Deadpool, and I think it's really interesting when you emphasize the kind of deranged, more insane, darker side of the character, because then you don't know if you, because then he's reprehensible, and you enjoy him even if you're not necessarily sympathetic with him, and all that kind of stuff. I just think it's more of an interesting kind of movie if Deadpool is just slightly off the rails. They say he's insane, but he's not. I mean, he's just like...
No, he just says silly things.
Yeah, he's quirky. And then... What didn't work for me is that he's already making kind of fourth wall breaking jokes before he becomes Deadpool or before he gets his superpowers.
Yeah, like he makes the joke about there's villain says, I'll sew that mouth shut, and he goes, "Oh, I wouldn't do that."
Yeah.
Like he has a figure.
Well, he makes the Green Lantern joke as well.
He makes the Green Lantern joke, and he has the toy of the Weapon 11 as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't get it.
And
don't get it.
fans will laugh because I get the reference, but it doesn't really make sense script wise. And I get that with a Deadpool movie, it has more license to not everything has to make sense, and it's just kind of fun and go with it. But I just thought, like, filmmaking wise, you could have had some really interesting creative stuff going on in this movie, and I just felt like it was a very serviceable action movie with a more comic book accurate revision of the character while still watering him down. The movie's violent, but it's not that violent. He makes fourth wall gags, but it's not that much of a meta narrative. It felt like it was a lot of things, and yet not a lot of things. And then in all the reviews, I heard people saying it's revolutionary, it's absolutely amazing. I enjoyed it. I found it entertaining. I've seen it twice. I only laughed at one joke the second time I watched it, which was when T.J. Miller goes, "Wade, I'd come with you, but I don't want to." I find that funny.
The one joke I laughed at is when he's coming up with the name. Deadpool. Captain Deadpool. I thought that was funny. Like I thought Reynolds played that really well. Like he had this great idea, and then
I'm trying to think if I laughed at any jokes. I can't think of anything. No.
I'm really bothered by Colossus in the film.
There's things that I like about him,
Yeah.
and there's things where it's like, oh, you just don't get the character at
Like
all.
they get the character on a very basic, general level of being like this really kind, like
Towards the end, his whole speech is about being like, what is a superhero and that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. Like
Yeah.
that's a true image because part of the cool thing about Colossus is that he, and I mean this is getting extremely whatever, but like he is what everyone in Russia wants you to think of their system. It's like, oh, of course we all want to be one strong unit and, help and support each other and everyone be on the same level. And it's like, yeah, that's great in concept. And Colossus just wants to be the best team player that he can be and be a superhero and help others. And he's a nice person. But the fact that we see him eating cereal in metal form.
yeah, we never see him out of his metal form, and I guess that's funny.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, well, they didn't have an act. That's what the joke should have been. Instead of it being like, I guess you couldn't afford any more X-Men characters, it's like, the fuck does that mean?
Oh, I
Yeah,
kind
it's
of,
like
I kind of like that gag when I first saw it.
I think it should have been like, it's almost like they couldn't afford an actor to actually play Colossus.
Like that poor guy. I mean, I don't know his name. I don't even know what he looks like, and I've seen him in person before. Like, when I was at a convention this year, I was standing at a booth, and then suddenly, the actor that plays Colossus and the actress that plays Negasonic Teenage Warhead walked up to the booth. They were both wearing Guy Fawkes masks. V for Vendetta. At first, I just noticed a giant man standing next to me. He goes, Colossus. And then along came the Negasonic Teenage Warhead. But, yeah, it's. I guess maybe we're spending too much time on a movie we don't like. But,
We have to get to other movies we don't like.
yeah, all those others. But yeah, I was bothered by the X-Men stuff because it felt really tacked on. Like, people might not know Deadpool, but if we attach the X-Men to it,
Yeah.
because they put it out in the trailer where it's like, I haven't got time for your X-Men bullshit. And so I was like, oh, it's an X-Men movie. But it's
They
not.
should have gone all out with that.
They could have gone all out, yeah.
You could have had, you could have had Cyclops in the film telling, like, Colossus, go
Yeah.
get this asshole.
Or he could have
Or
visited the mansion. Like, I would rather see Deadpool, like, making fun of all these children running around this place that always blows up. Like, instead of...
Yeah.
That could have been something.
Well,
Yeah,
and at the
instead
very
of-
least, if you're going to have X-Men, bring X-Men that we recognise, or at least they've got us the same. They've got Colossus, who is a character in those other movies, but they've changed the actor, so it doesn't even feel like he's actually a part. It feels disconnected
him
from the
Russian.
X-Men movies. It feels like there's no conversation happening at Fox between
Yeah.
these movies, which is what I noted this in my review, that just like it feels like a movie that's come from a universe where the Bryan Singer X-Men movies never happened. Some people might like that, but at the same time, it's just like, it's still, for something that's trying to connect itself to the X-Men, it still doesn't feel like it's connected to the X-Men movies. I don't believe for one second that Deadpool is going to appear in, X-Men, whatever the next one is. Or,
That's the title. Whatever the next, another one.
X-Men, it's the 90s.
And people asking for him to cameo in Logan don't understand tone or filmmaking whatsoever.
And people who want Jackman to appear in Deadpool Green, I say to those people, fucking stupid. Logan looks like an amazing end to Hugh Jackman's, career as Wolverine.
And then throw in cartoon Deadpool, hey, Glavin.
Yeah, it's like, no, I don't care if it's a cameo, I don't care about the chronological order of the films. This performance should be the final time we see him as Wolverine.
Or
I think.
Hugh Jackman.
Yes.
Not
Yeah.
necessarily the character of Wolverine.
If you want to put Wolverine in Deadpool 2 and it's a different character and you make him short or it's Tom Hardy or whatever, then fine.
Yeah,
You
if you're
probably
going to
could.
change Colossus,
Yeah,
then
if
might
you've
as
done
well
Colossus,
change
you can do Logan.
Yeah.
short Canadian Wolverine. The
Yeah.
fans will love it.
Yeah. Make him full-on Canadian. Like the Floating Heads.
Oh, golly gee.
Yeah, Floating Heads cartoons, yeah.
I'm the best at what I do, eh? Yeah,
Yeah.
just like that.
So,
Very Canadian.
on to Zootopia. Who saw this?
I saw Zootopia. I've only seen it the one time, and I don't know why. I would like to watch it again, but yeah, I saw it. I enjoyed this film.
Okay. I remember liking the voice cast. I think
Yes.
is it? I don't know how you pronounce her name. Jennifer Goodwin.
I think it's meant to be Jennifer.
Jennifer Goodwin. she plays Officer Hops. I thought, and it was Jason Bateman as well, wasn't it? As the Fox. I thought
Jason Bateman in his first voice acting role, which is quite surprising.
That's amazing.
He does a fantastic performance.
Yeah,
it's genuinely great.
I thought the voice acting was the best part of the movie, that they shared. They had really good chemistry, and Goodwin actually achieved some emotionally authentic beats in the story. I thought it was a very good performance from both of them, and it's always great having J.K. Simmons show up as a lion.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I wish that was in every movie.
The only problem I had with Zootopia, it looked great. I had a problem with the music that it was clearly trying to promote. But my biggest thing with it was that it felt very ham-fisted, the moral messages. I understood from the word go that it was about racism, and it just kept it felt very much like that was the main focus, as opposed to the narrative making us care about the characters in the adventure and then using that to get across a theme and an idea. Because I think that's better than if you start a movie with the film screaming at you, "You are about to learn something," or this is about something.
Yeah, that's definitely the issue with it. As far as there's a lot of good stuff going on. The world building is really, really well done. I think establishing everything, and the whole sort of detective mystery that's going on in this film is entertaining. But like you said, as soon as they get to the messages of, replace the word predators or anything like that with a certain other word, and you know exactly what kind of film you're watching. And there's YouTube videos that have done it. But that's the sense of it, is that it's like, there's clear lines.
Yeah.
Where there's at one point, what animal is telling a cheetah or something, where it's like, go back to the savannah, and she's like, I'm from here. It's like, I get it. I gotcha.
I don't have
it's a good message, so at least there's that. But at the same time, it's not. It's very, very much big flashing words. Don't be racist.
Yeah,
don't be prejudiced.
Yeah, that's the thing. I have no problem with Disney trying to promote messages like that, and fair play to that. And like you said, it's a good message. However, I always refer to this because I think it's one of the best animated movies ever made recently. The way that the Lego Movie gets you to enjoy the adventure and enjoy the characters and care about the characters, to then so that you're in the movie, you trust it, you buy into the movie, you are in it, and then they say, and now here's what it's been leading to, here's the message that we're trying to get to. I think that's narratively and in terms of structure, you go along for the ride. I just think there's something kind of off-putting about starting the movie saying you're about to learn things, and also there's, it's an important message. But, Inside Out had something it wasn't touched on in children's films, I felt, or children's animated films, I felt, with kind of emotional maturity. And again, the Lego Movie was positively encouraging playfulness. And these are kind of themes that I can't recall seeing in, recently in animated movies. Don't be racist, kids, is something you hear all the time. And it's important, but I don't know. It wasn't a refreshing concept to me. Still, I found it very entertaining. I thought the cast was very good, and I'd watch it again. I thought it was a good one.
Yeah, it's a very beautiful looking film, and as far as that message goes, as far as don't be racist, kids, it almost seems like it's a message more geared towards adults. As far as this goes, it's a movie about the police force and racism in a time of, remember, this was early last year. It's weird. Yeah. I don't even think kids are going to be like, well, yeah, okay, of course, who cares? It's more just adults being like, hey, listen, pay attention to this cartoon rabbit. God damn it.
So,
Disney movie, whatever. Fine.
Gods of Egypt. I don't think you guys saw this, but I did, and it was.
We saw a scene.
Yeah, we actually did watch a little bit of this the other day.
We caught a scene that was very headache-inducing and confusing, to say the least. So we saw a scene of the film. Yes, we can comment on that one.
Yeah.
This movie was terrible, and I absolutely loved it. It was so much fun. I took my friend Aidan to it because we had time to kill, and I posted on Twitter saying, because I heard Gods of Egypt was awful, and I said, is Gods of Egypt a laugh funny bad movie? And everyone said yes, go see it. So we went in, we could not stop laughing. It was there's a part when someone goes in for a hug and the guy just stabs them. It's absolutely hilarious.
Whoa.
And yeah, it's full of like someone actually directed this moments where
a
like
movie.
Nothing makes sense, and it's awful CGI. It reminded me of Spy Kids 3D. All of the melodramatic scenes are so funny. It's just a really, really funny bad movie, and I found it incredibly entertaining. I've done a video on comparing this to Warcraft, which I thought was absolutely awful and boring and dour. And what I loved about Gods of Egypt was how much fun it was. It felt like it came out of a late 90s kind of factory. So I had a lot of fun with this movie. It's not good, but if you've got a couple friends over and you're having a couple beers, pop it on because you will not regret it.
It's funny. Sometimes that's fun, seeing a movie that is so bad that it's so much fun.
Yeah, the camp value you find in it, it's great.
Yeah, and that generally only comes from action movies, I feel. Like, a really bad comedy generally is not funny to watch. Like, look how bad this is way. Just like, like you can't enjoy that. An over-the-top action movie with bad CGI and bad dialogue and like all-around stupidity, that can be super fun. I saw a film like that come out this year about that. Next time.
But I mean, we got a pretty good example of that on our recent trip. We, for whatever reason, only bad movies were on in our hotel room.
Yeah.
And Fool's Gold, starring Matthew McConaughey and Kevin Hart, was on. And it was getting to the point where, like, when the story was happening, we were, like, making jokes and having a good time and watching this ridiculous nonsense. But as soon as the movie stopped to, like, be a comedy and, like, try to have jokes itself, the room was silent.
Yeah.
And we were just sort of watching in awe of this poorly made comedy film.
Yeah.
And that's exactly it. When you see comedies trying to be funny and they're bad, there's nothing like fun of that because it's just sad. But as far as action goes, they're trying to be serious and make this movie and not doing such a great job, and so you can find enjoyment out of that.
They're trying to make you care about these characters.
Yeah.
It's failing so terribly. Fool's Gold, that's a film that came out like 10 years ago or maybe more. That was amazingly bad, and it's got like maybe 11 Rotten Tomatoes.
Yes,
or something.
11%.
Yeah, but sometimes those sorts of movies are fun to watch with friends. I wouldn't recommend doing that alone, but like if you watch it with friends and you're just making fun of it, that can be a great experience. So yeah, I believe you that Gods of Egypt would be super fun to watch with friends.
It's interesting you bring that up because I personally struggle with movies that are specifically labelled as being comedies, because I find the best comedy comes from spontaneity, and going into a movie where they say you are going to laugh, I find that difficult to get past a lot of the time. The thing funnily enough, and this isn't even a 2016 movie, but a movie that I saw this past year, the movie that made me laugh harder than anything else was Rear Window by Alfred Hitchcock.
What?
Absolutely. There's a great gag at the very end. Have we all seen it?
Yes. It's one of my favourite movies. I have to hear this.
A great gag! Rear Window!
I don't want to ruin it for anyone that hasn't seen the movie, so, like, I don't know, don't listen for the next, like, few seconds. It's the scene when they pull back and reveal that he's broken both of his legs at the very end. I howled with laughter because I did not see that coming whatsoever. That kind of when you don't see it coming is the kind of, it's so funny. So it's interesting that you said that when a movie tries to be funny. Having said that, with Gods of Egypt, there are lines where I think I don't know if it's trying to be funny, but it's trying to be like cool and clever. There's a bit when like they're about to dive into a hole, like after defeating like this giant snake monster, and the main character just turns to the bad like enemy and just goes, "Your company is preferable," and just jumps down. And me and Aiden and I turned to each other. I was like, "What the fuck does that mean?" The dialogue was absolutely awful, but yeah, I really, really do recommend that if you've got some friends around. 10 Cloverfield Lane.
I saw this movie. I loved it.
Yeah, it was really good.
I really, really like this movie.
Same with Zootopia. I was told by people to see this down to it, but something at some point.
Yeah, so we'll tread lightly as of right now in the room because Kirk has not seen it, and I don't want to say anything too specific. But I mean, it was advertised in a way to make you go see it because it was, had a Cloverfield in the title, and the trailer came out like a month before the movie did, or maybe 2 months. Yeah, and I mean, it's once you get past all of that about it, I mean, it's genuinely a good movie with great performances. I mean, like I said, I don't want to talk about too much because there's someone sitting right next to me who's not seen the film. But there is discussion about the ending, and it's one of those things where it's like, okay, I see why this decision was made. But as far as the whole film, I really, really enjoy it, and the very ending, I really, really enjoy as well.
Yeah, I agree. I know that people have a problem with it, and I understand why they do, and it's very, very closely tied to the production of the film.
Yes.
Very clearly, but I enjoyed it, and I thought the movie had earned it. This is a really great kind of suspense thriller. You feel uncomfortable watching it to a certain degree. There's a great kind of sense of it's a movie about monsters through and through. And it's I mean, I understand that some people are ticked that they renamed this a Cloverfield movie. At the same time, and while it would have been good for this to kind of, wave the flag for original movies, not many people would have seen this if it didn't have
wasn't the original title like The Basement or something?
I think it was
Cellar?
The Cellar, yeah.
And no one would have seen that.
No one would have gone to see The Cellar, even with the cast that they had. And so while it's not necessarily a great thing that people only went to see this, or that most people went to see this because of the brand, it does. I think it was a good thing that they called it a Cloverfield movie. So there you go. That's something to think about when it comes to the industry. But I think it was they made the right move, because I probably would have gone to see it out of curiosity, but I know I went to see it mainly because it is a Cloverfield movie.
Yeah,
maybe that's my
kind of
fault.
funny.
Maybe it's a comment on me and how closed-minded I am, but I'm glad.
Yeah, it's funny how you mentioned earlier it's a movie about monsters, because I mean we referenced Hitchcock earlier.
Yes,
it's very similar to the mentality of what is a monster. It's more than just movie monsters and killers and things. It could be potentially anything.
Yeah,
and I think this is a good marriage of those ideas of sci-fi monsters and real-life monsters. I think that's what makes it so perfect, is you may go into the film kind of expecting one thing or another, and may come out getting something else entirely, but it's still within the same vein of what makes a monster and just crazy evil.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's definitely moments in this film that are just so unnerving and weird, but it's a very, very enjoyable film, and it's one of my favorites of the year. I'm very glad I saw it. If I can only assume, is that someone like Abrams was like, this is a good movie, and I want to make sure people see it. So we're gonna, do a little stuff just to make sure it does get seen. Like I said, I would not have seen The Cellar, starring John Goodman and Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Well, I'm sorry, that doesn't interest me. But the fact that it was 10 Cloverfield Lane does pique interest, and it got people in the theater.
Yeah,
got people to see the film. So there's that.
And I kind of like that it's got a unique angle. Like, I know that some people don't like the ending, but I like that the ending kind of implies that the film is a genre within a bigger genre, if that makes any sense. People that have seen the movie will understand that. People that haven't probably won't. But it's like multiple genres, and I like that about it. And I agree. I think it's one of the best movies of the year as well. So, moving swiftly along to hopefully the movie that doesn't take up the entire podcast. Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. I hate it. Let's move on. I have talked about this movie my whole life, it feels. So, someone else, please take this off me.
Well, I did a fucking commentary on this movie. So, I did it with Chief Brody Rules, good old buddy Frank. So, if you want to know my thoughts and how just bad this film is, firsthand of us viewing the extended cut, go check out our commentary. Watch Frank know exactly how long we have left in the movie. I don't know how. He's only seen the extended cut maybe twice, and he just got it just because it's an interesting thing. If you guys don't know, Chief Brody Rules is a guy who loves the DC extended universe, and you'd probably wonder, what the fuck's wrong with you? Is something wrong with your brain? But he does a good job sort of explaining his views on it. He is a what's what we're looking for? He's a realistic fan, you know?
Yeah.
He understands it in a way that is sort of in the same sort of so bad it's good sense. Something like Gods of Egypt. But the difference being that Gods of Egypt is like it's going to be forgotten. Batman v Superman is one of the biggest franchises ever. So, yeah, like I said, you want to know my full thoughts? Check out my commentary. But I guess that just leaves one more person to talk about it.
Okie dokie. So, Batman vs. Superman is terrible. It's to think that this was their big opportunity to finally put Batman and Superman on the same screen together, and they made this, and at no point did anybody go, this script doesn't work. The fact that there's an extended version of this film which puts more story in there, and somehow it's worse. Like, I don't... Like, when people say, oh, the extended cut is so much better, look, it explains one thing. Why they're having those hearings about what happened in whatever country that was.
Mr. Are You a Terrorist's house.
The Are You a Terrorist? Yeah, like that whole scene, they explain, oh, I think Superman killed all these people because the KGB's burned them to death.
Which sets up his flamethrower, so it's like, there's so many little... The extended cut, all it does is add little bits and pieces that are just a couple seconds long to establish character motives and sets up future things.
Yeah.
That's all the extended cut does. It's not like in the extended cut we get this whole different storyline of like, oh, there's this whole thing going on with Martha, like she's fucking Aunt May in Amazing Spider-Man 2 or something. It's like, it's just little things to be like, oh, this is why this character even is doing anything.
Okay, we're back, everyone.
Yeah, there's none of that.
Okay, we're back. Like, the funny thing with extended cuts and director's cuts, like, there are some where it is the far superior version that now that's all you can see. Blade Runner is a good example.
Yep.
Daredevil, like, on Netflix and things like that.
I don't know, I watched the director's cut of Daredevil and I thought it was still shit.
Well, that's fair, but there's the whole plot line in the director's cut that is not in the film that actually ties it into the story of how he even figures out Kingpin is like a person and a threat.
Yeah, and there's like a couple of scenes that are edited the right way. So I get that why you'd watch that over Daredevil, but I still didn't rate it highly.
Well, that's fair. That's not the point. I'm saying it's clearly a better cut.
The point is that is now something that you can't get the theatrical cut on Blu-ray. Like, on Blu-ray...
Oh, really?
I'm 99% sure you can only get the director's cut.
Wow.
That's the version that Fox now want you to see. And
it's the same of Terminator 2. And
Terminator 2, yeah, you can't get the version without the... see that guy right there? That's a smile. Like, all that stuff that gets added in, you can't find the film without that now. I think the same with, like, the Harry Potter films. Like, there's cuts of the original film, at least with the original film, where they've added stuff in where you can't see the film without that now.
Which is unfortunate, because all the extra stuff is... There are so many scenes in all those films where it's like, they're called deleted scenes for a reason.
Yeah.
You ever seen Goblet of Fire where Snape is walking in on teenagers having sex in carriages like it's goddamn Titanic?
That's lovely. But with Batman vs Superman, nothing gets added to the story. It bogs the story down more. You've got that character that's played by that actress who actually hasn't sort of famous.
Her.
Crap, what's her name? From Sucker Punch and from.
You're talking about
Jenna Malone.
Jenna Malone.
I was gonna say, are you talking about the kid everyone thought was Batgirl, and then absolutely was not?
Yeah, everyone thought she was going to be Barbara Gordon, and then we said she is a tech. Said that she's a blonde tech girl with glasses, and people went, "Oh, is she Felicity?" I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
Yeah, no.
But she, like, there's this subplot where she, like, the whole plot with the bullet could have been cut from the film.
Who made the bullets? Was it the bad guy? Did the bad guy make the bullets?
Yeah, like, the bullet is used to reveal that Lex Luthor is the villain, but we know that Lex Luthor is the villain because A, he's a famous villain, and B, he's doing villain things the first scene we see him in.
Yeah, he starts off as, but there's no, like, turn of, like, oh, Lex Luthor does not come out as being like, I support Superman and I'm going to rebuild this city.
Yeah.
In the very beginning, he's like, I'm going to kill that guy.
It's not like Jeff Bridges in Iron Man, where it's kind of clear, like, okay, I think this guy's going to be the bad guy, and then it's revealed, and you feel smart for picking it. Like, this is Lex Luthor. But,
you can't do that in this day and age.
Yeah, so, adding in Jenna Malone, she reveals that, the chair that, Scoot McNairy was sitting in, was made of lead. And Lois goes, "Oh, that's why he couldn't see through it." And it's like, when have we established that Superman can't see through lead in these films? Like, there's all this. So in the same film, they treat Lex Luthor like you don't know he's going to be the villain, and that you're meant to know all this stuff about Superman in the same film that they haven't established in Man of Steel or in this one. And like, I really like Ben Affleck's performance. Henry Cavill, is a good Superman, and I really like the casting of Alfred as well. But just, it's the good is bogged down by miles and miles of shit that, the action in it is not very inspiring. Soundtrack isn't that great, and I love Hans Zimmer, but like the Batman theme that he came up with this time is depressing.
Yeah. Is the Batman?
It's so bad. It's just so
I'll say that I like the theme at the very start of the movie. When
A Beautiful Lie,
the death of the Wayne.
Good.
That's fantastic.
The death of the Wayne scene is like
that's
the
only
only
part
good
of it
scene in
that
the
I
movie.
like. The Wonder Woman theme is horrible.
Yeah.
God.
The movie starts, I think, really strong. Like, the death of the Waynes and discovering the Batcave, and the perspective from Bruce Wayne's point of view of what happened in Man of Steel, I think that's great and sets up a completely different movie.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I instantly knew what film I was in for when the movie opened, because as you said, the opening is good, but the problem I had with the opening was the title. Because, and I've probably said this before, but, Batman v Superman, that is not a complex title that you should present in the corner of the screen like you're making Gone Girl. That is the type of boom, Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, full on the screen, like that, the way they do Avengers or Star Trek or anything like that. It's big bombastic title, and instead it slowly comes in the corner. Like it's the movie is so pretentious, and it's like in a standard font, and it's very serious. And I get that for that scene it's serious, but it's meant to be. It's a superhero movie,
Exactly, and that's what I mean by those opening scenes set up a different movie. The opening scene itself sets up a far more complex film than
stylistic
it ends up being.
As well.
Stylistic.
It's reminiscent of sort of the Burton style of like the flashback scene of the parents' death. It's slow. It's we really interesting shots
Symbolic,
as far as the way the gun is looking. And I mean, I don't understand how Martha gets shot.
No,
that doesn't make any sense. He clearly has it like at her chin, probably, or somewhere close to her face, and then she falls to the ground. Her face is fine.
Yeah.
Fucking people say that Marvel films are for babies and Batman Superman is for grown ass adults. but there's like barely any blood in this film or gore or anything.
Yeah.
It's like the safest looking sort of like action film I've ever seen.
Apart from when Batman he like chucks a box at a guy's head and he goes against the wall and his head splatters against it.
So when Batman murders, that's when it gets graphic, but when the bad guys do it, that's different.
Yeah.
The bad guys are safe.
So
Batman is the real murderer.
The hero of our story completely slaughters a gang, and he might stab a man in the heart. We're not sure. He definitely super kicks a man into another man where there was a grenade, and then they blow up.
It sets fire to a guy's like fire pack or something.
Yeah, like
he shoots and explodes.
He definitely blows up the KG Beast, and he also in the Batmobile shoots down a car so that it disintegrates into pieces.
Looks like the fucking pod race from Phantom Menace, just like rolls up into a ball of metal and fire and is gone.
Yeah, he drops a car onto another car full of people. He somehow drives the Batmobile through the truck that was holding the kryptonite. Somehow his tracker stays on there, and it makes you go, why the hell did Batman show that he was around when he stuck the tracker there? That was the purpose of him being there. No. Was he just there to intimidate them? Like, fuck you, I'm watching you.
Fuck you. That's Batman's whole mentality in this movie is fuck you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have not seen the ultimate cut. Some people have like criticised me for saying, "Oh, how can you say this is so bad? The ultimate cut is genuinely good." And I haven't seen the ultimate cut, so I couldn't tell you. But
they can't criticize you for disliking the film that they put out in theaters for you to buy and watch.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing is, like, everyone tells me to check out the ultimate cut. I will never watch the ultimate cut. Because I hated this movie, and I was so bored. This is such a boring... Batman and Superman, this is a boring movie. Think about that for a second. The movie where Batman and Superman meet is boring. And the only thing that I've heard people say is that the ultimate cut provides more context. Fine, whatever. That still is... I can't imagine the movie will be suddenly entertaining. The biggest problem that I had with Batman v Superman was just how pretentious it was. The movie goes on for about what feels like... Oh. Okay, our alarm's going off. I'm going to assume someone is burning toast or something.
Someone hears you talking shit about
Close the kitchen door. Yeah, prick.
It's making those plastic eggs.
So the movie, for what feels like 2 hours, goes all on about... it's super self-serious, and it touches on all these themes about politics, all these plot points about politics and philosophical themes, right and wrong, and doing all this stuff. And then you get right down to it, it's literally just about punching a big monster in the face. There is no subtext to any of it. It is not about anything. And the movie insists that it's important, that it's tackling interesting themes. And I'm sorry, no matter how symbolic you may frame shots, or how dark, or how much you may underlight your scenes, it doesn't make your film dark, and it doesn't make your film about anything. Batman v Superman is not about anything.
An entire ship, snow.
But Sam, the Superman symbol is the same dimensions as the Batman symbol.
Oh my god!
Therefore, imagery, importance, Jesus.
But Sam, there's that part of the film that looks like a Mad Max film, which might have actually kind of been an interesting alternate Batman film, but that's okay.
But Sam, there's reoccurring themes, like how General Doomsday Zod stabs Superman through the chest just like his old daddy. Oops.
And
who cares?
Let's also get this clear right out from the gate, because I hear tons of people misunderstand this. No one didn't understand the Martha scene. Everyone got it. It is the most simple scene anyone has ever seen in their lives. There is no misunderstanding of what it meant. Everyone thinks that, no one got it. It's not difficult to get. Batman realizes Superman's, a human being, and he's got humanity, and he stands down because he either has a mum, or he loves his mum, or whatever, and it's brought on by him saying Martha. The problem is, of all the scenarios you could have had to make Batman realize that Superman is a person, using the trivial point of both of their mums having the same first name are so dumb. That is so fucking dumb, and you can tell that like it's so contrived as well. Like Thomas Wayne dies and he goes Martha, and then when Lex Luthor captures her, he's like Martha, 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 and it's like why is everyone saying her name so much? And then it turns okay, so that's what they're doing. It's just not about anything, and I would much have preferred a movie that just had no pretense. Yeah, that it was anything special. Just put them in the same room, have a couple quips. It doesn't have to be too, doesn't have to be too fun. I mean, God forbid, why would you want to make a superhero movie fun? I understand that they want to differ themselves from Marvel, but Marvel isn't just fun. Marvel is emotionally well-rounded. As we'll get to
the same thing later that year, and it was great.
Yeah. As we'll get to, Civil War is that is a more serious, grounded story with those characters. They still exist in a fantastical world where anything is possible, but you can still do darker ideas and maturer elements. Zack Snyder does not understand this. He thinks that if there's any colour in your movie, then suddenly, that it makes it less interesting or whatever. This guy is not a good filmmaker. He has the mind of a child. And yet this
is good in this world.
I had numerous, I didn't have arguments, but I encountered a lot of people that would criticize me for saying originally that Man of Steel was about nothing. And my biggest problem with Man of Steel was that it talked for so long about all these philosophical discussions and right and wrong and what should Superman be, and then it just devolves into this big dumb fight where buildings are destroyed and you just feel horrible at the end of the movie. And this was a very similar experience, but much dumber and 1,000 times more confusing. The script was an absolute mess. And it is outstanding that the guy who wrote Argo also wrote this. I'm going to assume it was all the studio stuff. But yeah, not a good movie.
On the note of the Martha thing, and there's a million ways you could have done Batman realizing that Superman has humanity and that he's a monster. Just think, by the way, Batman is trying to stop Superman because of the events of Man of Steel. That's his motivation, and that makes sense. The government is trying to stop Superman, not because he killed all of those people and caused all that destruction in Metropolis, because they think that he killed people in that country that they were in.
I think it's Egypt.
It says, let's say it's Egypt. So he killed a bunch of people in Egypt, and the government want to stop Superman. Or they want to talk to him. They talk to each other. Now, the thing with him, Batman wanting to kill Superman because Superman could kill all these people. I mean, we see Batman kill a lot of people in this movie. What would have been infinitely better is if Batman, on the verge of killing Superman, realizes, holy crap, I'm about to kill this man, that's not me, that's not what I do. Having Lois Lane run in there, stop Batman, and shield him in that, is enough, I think, could be enough to go, there are people that actually genuinely care for this person. He's a person, not some alien from outer space that's going to kill us. Now, that's sort of basic, and you could have done something differently with that, but I think, imagine, just as an example, the Christian Bale Batman, who makes a big point of his one rule being not to kill people. If you put that Batman in that predicament, where he feels like, I might have to kill this man, and then he realizes, that's not what I do, that's interesting, and it's there's just different ways they could have done it, and they chose the silliest way. Like, I've always known that their mothers have the same name. I've always found that funny, because it just shows
how
the
lazy
time that they were created in comics. Like, Martha was a mother-sounding name, I guess. And, I remember when I saw this with my brother, he went, oh! I never realized their mothers have the same name. Like, that's kind of funny. But then it's actually used as a legitimate plot point for Batman to go, friend of your son's, and I failed him in life. I won't fail him in death. Like,
even though I knew him for 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's stupid.
And
It's pretty bad.
Justice League will be bad. Wonder Woman looks like a real movie. I still don't think it's going to be very good. I would like it to be good. But at this point, this has got to be the deciding year for DC. This last year should have been the deciding year for DC. Having Batman v Superman and then immediately followed by Suicide Squad. I mean, they should have been starting from scratch already.
So, I guess the problem is they've still made just enough money, even though they should have made infinitely more with Batman vs Superman, but they've still made enough money that I think there's a huge possibility that Justice League will make an insane amount. And if Justice League makes an insane amount, even if it's got 2% on Rotten Tomatoes, it's still gonna continue. Depends how much money it makes. If everybody wakes up and realizes this is garbage, then fine. It might end here. But if it makes a lot of money, because look at all the superheroes, I know of the Flash, I know of the robot.
Exactly. That's the main issue.
Exactly. And I know that they're trying to play catch up to Marvel, so they don't have time for the Cyborg movie or the Flash movie or the Aquaman movie, and they shoehorned in that scene in Batman vs Superman where Lex Luthor has created logos for everybody, including Wonder Woman, which is basically just the WWE logo. That's really weird. But cyborgs, a big C with a dot in the middle, because he's a cyborg. Stupid.
It's really bad.
But yeah, if that movie does make a lot of money, I think there's a big chance that it will. If it breaks the billion, then we're going to see more of these.
Yeah. I think that Ben Affleck is going to quit. I think he's on his way out. Genuinely.
You know what? I don't disagree. I think he might be too.
Because he...
I'm going to kill off Batman of all characters.
The whole press for Live by Night, which I didn't bother to go see, it didn't look particularly interesting to me. Though I kind of wanted to when I heard him complaining about how people only want to ask him about Batman. If he was genuinely excited for that project, he probably wouldn't have complained that much. And you can clearly tell that he had decided not to direct it, although all those thoughts were going on in his mind, because he said the script wasn't working or whatever. And he clearly, he has the ability to go online and read a review. He knows that the DC movies are not doing particularly well. I think he's piece by piece trying to get out. And honestly, I support you, mate. Go, save yourself.
He's the only one that cares.
Yeah.
He's the only one that cares, and he's also the only one that people seem to like. I just didn't like his character of Batman. I think he plays the part fine, but I don't like that character at all.
Yeah.
And I also don't like Henry Cavill's Superman. I like Henry Cavill, and I think they've got an actor who could, really can do a charismatic Superman. But they're not written as characters, really. And I hear loads of people argue that it's okay that Batman kills because it's a character arc he goes through, that he realizes what he's become before he kills Superman. But the problem is he's still killing people afterwards.
Yeah. Anyone who says that is completely out to lunch. Like, he doesn't kill Superman and then proceeds to kill a bunch of people, and it's okay because they're bad guys, I guess. We don't see any bad things that these guys do.
If any of their mums were named Martha, it would have been a different story.
Yeah. Like, they all just... They hold a bunch of guns, and Batman goes in there and kills many of them. And, I can kind of understand killing of KG Beast if it's the only way he can save Martha. Kind of similar to jumping out of the train as Ra's al Ghul falls to death. But if that was the only way out I'm going to blow up your flamethrower.
The only difference being is that Ra's al Ghul was a character that we had learned about with Bruce Wayne and was a father figure, and the whole I'm not gonna kill you, or I'm not gonna kill you, but I won't save you idea is completely different from hello man I've never met before. I'm gonna blow you up.
The difference is he goes,
I'll kill her. I believe you.
And one final thing, I know we need to move on, but one final thing is that all I wanted in this movie was for Superman to fucking say something. He spends the whole movie talking to people out about what he should do, and I was just waiting for the moment he goes in front of a camera and talks to people, and then when they finally set it up that he's about to open his mouth and say something about what he wants to do or about what he's here for, the fucking building blows up. And then it just and then it cuts to like a shot of him just looking like mildly mildly uncomfortable, while like tons of bodies are in flames around him, and he's just like, oh, that kind of sucks.
I will say they do that part is better. I'll say this: that part is better than the extended cut, because we actually do see him pulling people out of the building and bringing them to the medics, and you had this genuine good moment where he's like, "What do I do?" And the medics are just like, "Just let us handle this." Mm-hmm. Like, there's literally nothing you can do at this point, Superman. You got everyone out of the building. You can't help anyone anymore. And he's looking around and seeing all this travesty essentially in his name. And that's when he looks at Lois and is like, I'm useless as Superman. There's nothing I can do with all these powers. It's reminiscent of that. Like, all these powers are still nothing I can do. And that's when he flies off. But in the theatrical cut, he just sort of is there and is sad and then flies off. But
even if
flies off and then talks to his ghost dad.
Yes, Ghost Dad is still in the extended cut. There's nothing.
Did they still have the shot though of him reacting when he's inside the courthouse and it's in flames?
The fire. Oh yeah, he's really
absolutely hate that shot. So that's still a problem as far as I'm concerned, because he just looks so passive about it. Clearly, the direction is not there. Anyway, yeah, and like Superman is meant to be. It's not Superman, but Superman is meant to be, optimistic. There's meant to be a kind of element of fantasy and calling to the light and happy things and people coming together. There's none of that in this movie. There is none.
Yeah, there's no charm to Superman, and there was a little bit in Man of Steel. And here, like, there's no lines that are like, physically speaking, it's the safest way to travel. Like, there's nothing like that. And people go, oh, you can't do that now, it's too cheesy. But
why not? Captain America does that, and he's still awesome.
And the difference is, well, if you can't do that, then you shouldn't be making Superman.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Make the Punisher. Zack Snyder should be directing the Punisher.
You know what? I'd be fine with that. Go make the Punisher, I guess.
And that's what I say to anyone that goes around saying, well, Batman should kill people. Go read The Punisher. I like RoboCop shooting rapists in the dick, but that doesn't mean I want James Bond to do it.
Exactly. well, you know what?
When you say it like that, you drive around his Aston Martin just blowing people's dicks off.
So I saw Hardcore Henry. I don't have too much to say about this.
What a transition.
I didn't have too much to say about Hardcore Henry, but it was I kind of admire it for trying to do something different. There are moments where the movie borders on actually being really great, with the actor, I cannot remember his name, the chap from District 9, Sharlto Copley.
Good actor.
He's really great in some very notable scenes. There was a point when it just got a bit too much for me. I nearly walked out just for like a 5-minute breather, because it's first person view, and I was sitting. I kept getting up and moving further back in the cinema. I don't think it's a gimmick that's going to last long, but I found it an interesting experience. That's all I've got to say about it. So, Captain America: Civil War. Let's brighten this up a little bit.
This movie was awesome.
I really like it. It's a really good movie.
You were paid off.
Oh, damn it, you know my secret. Marvel are paying for my house.
Warner Brothers is paying for my Rotten Tomatoes scores.
Disney's paying for my student loan.
Robert Downey Jr. personally walked over to me, gave me a sack full of money,
And then I went for a hug.
and then he said, "No, I'm just getting out of here."
No, I'm just getting the door.
I'm gonna walk past you, you're in my way. And he pushed me down.
Yeah, look, this movie, in the complete opposite of Batman vs Superman, like, yes, there are some dark moments, there are some brooding moments. Maybe the characters trying to almost kill each other, maybe that does go a little bit too far, but god damn it, there's that airport scene, and that is just so much fun to watch, and there's nothing like that in Batman vs Superman. And that's the last time I'll mention that movie. But when you watch this movie, you understand the motivations of the different characters, even the ones that aren't in it very long. And it works on so many levels. I can honestly say this is a film that I love, and I'm tempted to say it's my favorite of the MCU. I do think Winter Soldier is maybe a better film, but I think I might have more fun with Civil War.
Fair statement. I agree. I agree that Winter Soldier is a better film and Civil War may be a bit more entertaining. Because it's still got that Russo feel at points. Mm-hmm. And I mean, there's a lot of this that is a straight up Winter Soldier sequel. And that's the kind of interesting thing about it is that they do so much to pull everything together. I said when the Age of Ultron came out, it's amazing that movie is as good as it is, considering it has to be a sequel to all the sequels to Avengers, as well as Avengers, and set up 3 other Avengers films, and like it's so ridiculous. There's so much going on in that movie. It's so dense. Every character is insane. So it's interesting on that point, but overall, it's Civil War did that even better. Civil War to the point where it was like, okay, we got to introduce Black Panther, we've got to introduce Spider-Man, we've got to maybe expand on a Vision Wanda story. We got to bring back Hawkeye somehow. How are we going to get him into the game?
We're going to bring in Ant-Man.
There's so much going on while also being a sequel to Winter Soldier, while also being, a pretty solid, I mean, I know it's not, but a pretty solid finale to Iron Man's story after all these years.
Yes.
Iron Man has basically had 3 finales at this point,
yeah,
and this being the best one. There's just so much. The finale to Captain America, in a way. Like, there's so much going on that it's so great that it's as good as it is, while still doing so many things that connect the universe in so many ways. I mean, we're getting stuff with Peggy on the Captain America side of things, and we're still getting stuff on the Iron Man side of things. It's very much a Captain America story, but you're still managing to tie it into all this other stuff. And I mean, as far as comic book movies go, it's a great comic book film. The fans still get their fan service stuff. There's so much. We get Giant Man, and we get the recreation of the comic book scene of Iron Man and Captain America blasting each other. And there's so much. Sure, I'm sure there's fans that are upset about Zemo, but I mean, Zemo's one of the best Marvel villains in film, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. I think he's really enjoyable. Great actor. I thought it was awesome. It's people were trying to compare him to Lex Luthor as far as a quote unquote convoluted plan. But when you get down to it, his plan's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I think so.
Get to Winter Soldier, piss off Iron Man, done deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie.
What I find with Civil War is that actually the MCU gets a lot of flack for churning out 2 movies a year, but what I like about it is that Civil War forgives. For me, it makes me enjoy past movies more. I wanted Age of Ultron to be a weightier story, and it wasn't. But I went and watched it recently, and I enjoyed it as just an entertaining popcorn flick because I now have that story in Civil War. I wanted Iron Man 3 when I went to see it to be the darker, final chapter of Iron Man, and I really did, and it was much more, comedy based. And I went back and watched it recently, and Lord and behold, I really enjoyed myself. And I actually thought it was much better because Civil War gave me that, more personal, darker Tony Stark story that I'd been craving. What I find about Civil War is that it works so well as a movie. It is very efficient in all the things it has to do, all the boxes it has to check, like it has to set up Black Panther and it has to set up Spider-Man. And like you said, Anthony, it's got to be a sequel to Age of Ultron and Winter Soldier. And some people might say that is a problem. I understand if they see it in that perspective, because I watched this with my dad and we had to pause it because he just had to ask so many questions like, okay, so wait, hang on, who is Vision again, and all this kind of stuff. So I understand if people have a problem with that, but I think it's a great example of how a cinematic universe can change the narrative structure of movies. And I love that Civil War takes Iron Man and Captain America, who started as very different people, and kind of brings them round full circle into opposites of who they were. And yeah, I think that I like that it adapts the Civil War comic very loosely. I was worried that it was just going to be way too preoccupied with satisfying all those moments and all that fan service, while forgetting that it does need to, conclude plot points from Winter Soldier. It has to continue that story. And what I love about it, and I know that tons of people get really ticked off that the characters, there is a certain suspension of disbelief that at some point they wouldn't just go, look, this is what's happening, let's just chill out for a second. But, and I know that so many people get frustrated that they talk so much about politics and it doesn't really matter in the end. I love that the movie uses it as a facade, like the characters do, to take us to more interesting personal places where what's left is not the plot or, things entirely... it's not completely plot driven. What matters at the end of it is the emotion of those characters. And I just think that Tony Stark and Cap, there's so much subtext to the things that they do and the dialogue they have. I love that the movie doesn't hold your hand along the way. It doesn't have to say everything that the characters are feeling. It's very clear through, Peggy Carter's funeral and the things that happen with Bucky that Cap is desperately trying to cling on to the one thing he has left. It's also incredibly clear that he has transitioned from a guy who is very... he trusts the government and he follows orders, to someone who is... He's now entered the new age. It's the other way around now. Whereas Tony Stark started as someone who was telling them to go fuck themselves, and now he is, from guilt, is much more, government... more trusting of the government. And I think the way that it brings the characters together and, all those dynamics play off each other is incredibly organic, even though you can tell, there is some studio stuff involved. Obviously, Spider-Man is only here because that was part of the arrangement, but it works so well. And, Tony meeting Peter is one of the best sequences in the film. The introduction to Peter Parker is quick and naturalistic. It doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel contrived. His exit's slightly awkward, but whatever. I just think it is a miracle almost that this film works as well as it does, and I just think it is. I love that it's focused on the characters, and that's the main. I loved Zemo. I mean, his plan, when you start thinking about the plot mechanics and everything, it's slightly. It's a slight coincidence that he's able to predict the precise emotional responses of certain characters, but it's to the service of the story. And I like that the movie has a different ending. It's not a big laser in the sky. It's just raw emotion. The plot doesn't even matter towards the end. And I think that's great. And it's mature, and it's interesting, and it's slightly darker, and it's something we haven't quite seen before. It's about how human these characters are and how flawed they are. And it calls attention to the thing that made Marvel a success in the first place. These characters are human beings. I thought this movie was absolutely fantastic. I've met so many people that don't think much of it, but I clearly saw something that not a lot of other people saw. But I personally thought this was brilliant.
Yeah, I've kind of noticed that too. It's a bit of an oddity in my opinion. I feel like Civil War was that movie that we needed after Batman v Superman as far as the big comic book film. I mean, since Age of Ultron wasn't that, then we got this. It's like, wow, this is Civil War. As someone who, when that was announced, I was a little disappointed because I don't like that book at all.
No, neither do I.
I really don't. I think it's awful story. It's
and it's also an endgame story. They wouldn't have been able to adapt that. That story is only possible if you're going to go back in time and change, the past.
Yeah, it's weird. It's neither here nor there.
Doesn't even have the most interesting part of the story in it.
In a sense, yeah. The death of Goliath. No. But yeah, it's one of those things where I was like, I don't want to see Civil War. I don't want to see that done. I'd rather it be something else. There was that talk of the Mad Bomb was the what they were going to originally do for Cap 3, which is super weird.
Serpent Society. Is
yeah.
It's also interesting to note that I if you told me that they only did Civil War to pin Iron Man and Cap against each other because that's what DC were doing with Batman and Superman, I'd believe you. It still shows that if you have those, you've got to do this, that, and the other, you can still make a good script out of it. It's possible.
Yeah, Marvel can still pull it out because they got talented people behind it.
Yeah. If if everyone's working together and there's, it's a hierarchy that works, you can make a good film.
Well, yeah, I mean, you hear horror stories sometimes about like these big companies and mandates and all that stuff. I mean, you get people that leave or people that sort of badmouth some stuff afterwards, but then you get some perfect marriages. I mean, my example has always been James Gunn.
Yeah,
James Gunn has said nothing but great things about Marvel and his experience with Marvel and the fact that he's been able to make the movies that he's wanted to make, and he doesn't have an issue with it. And he's very, very vocal about it, which is why I trust him on the matter. He doesn't, when a Marvel movie is coming out, he's not like, hey, go make sure to see this Marvel film because Marvel, and I'm part of Marvel, and I need to get a paycheck. It's like, if he thinks something, he's going to say it. When people ask him stuff on Twitter, he's quick to respond to be like, no, that's bullshit, or yes, that's right.
And he doesn't only praise Marvel. Like, if DC or whichever company does something right, whoever, he'll say it. And what I think is interesting with Marvel is that there have been filmmakers who have walked away, like Ant-Man,
Edgar Wright,
and then there have been some actors that are completely bad-mouthed it, like Mickey Rourke.
He's not a person.
So you get people who badmouth the crap out of it, but generally speaking, I mean, obviously Jon Favreau had some disagreements as well, yet he's still there.
And Joss Whedon had some stuff, but I mean, he's not like he's boycotting Marvel or anything.
Yeah, like, maybe the notion of, this is too hard, I have to make sure I'm doing this and this and this and this to appease these people in these films, the other films that are happening. Is that the ideal way to make a movie? No. But, like, maybe...
They found a way.
There are certain directors who, like, someone like James Gunn works within this universe that doesn't really have much to do with the rest of the universe, and that might help. But when you look at the Russos, like you said, they had to make another ending for Iron Man, and a new chapter for Cap, a sequel to Civil War, sequel to Age of Ultron in a way, reintroducing Wanda and Vision, who we only had as side characters in the previous film, Ant-Man, who we've only seen once, introduce Spider-Man, introduce Black Panther. Like, they did all of this, and they did it successfully, and now they're going to go on to make Infinity War, and I trust it. Because they've proven that they can do all of this, and when they're doing this with characters that are now all established, I trust them. And I think Civil War was a really fantastic film. Like you said, the commentary on the political stuff is actually some of the stuff I enjoy the most in the film. Their discussion about why they should or should not sign the Accords is genuinely interesting because everybody brings up valid points. It's not like the comic where you kind of go like, well, Iron Man thinks this and Cap thinks this, and
they're both just completely wrong in the book. In the movie, you can find some genuine points. I mean, depending on your views as a person, you might side with one or another.
Sure.
But at the same time, you should be able to acknowledge the fact that it's like, Iron Man has some pretty clear points as to why he's doing it. You can understand why.
And Black Widow brings up great points to support that as well. And so does the Vision. And so does Rhodey.
And they're all different types of people as well, so you do get different perspectives on the same subject matter. I mean, the fact that you kind of have that dynamic between Rhodey and Falcon, who are both military men.
They're cut from the same cloth.
But they're different views in people. And so allegiances are made based off those things. And it even becomes better considering the battle itself isn't even about that. The spark comes from that, similar to the book. But
It's
instead
a
of
mechanic.
continuing with that
It's a
the whole
mechanic.
time, it's like, oh, it's about the super soldiers, potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a mechanic to get the characters to more personal places.
Absolutely. I love the fact that Hawkeye doesn't join Team Cap, to call it that for argument's sake. He doesn't do that because he disagrees with the Accords. He does it because he needs to do the right thing to try and stop these super soldiers and save, essentially, the world from these people.
Yeah.
Same with
And-
Ant-Man.
And that's something that people don't really... Some people don't quite understand, because I hear a lot of people saying, well, why would, Scarlet Witch team with this person, or why would Hawkeye... And it's not really... At the end of the day, some of them may say it, but it's really about, people that are sided with Captain America have done it because it's Captain America. They'll follow him no matter what he does, because they have that relationship, and they trust him. It's not solely because of their political agendas. And I think once you realise that, then you get it. Or it becomes much more of a story rather than, because the politics doesn't matter in the end, really. That's not what the fight is about.
No, it comes down to that raw emotion at the very end. It's all about that reveal. And as far as just, like you said, it's all emotion at that point.
That reveal might have legitimately been my favorite thing. Like, that moment, as soon as Tony says, I know that road, I just remember thinking, like, oh my god, like, this is where this whole thing's been leading, especially, since Winter Soldier, where we had that quick moment where Zola is talking about all the tragedies that Hydra have caused. Like, it all leads to that. It's something else. I really felt something in that moment, and I also really felt something when Peggy died. We've seen her in these films, we've seen the 2 seasons of the show, and we saw how she was in Winter Soldier. When she dies, I have this emotional response, not only because I like the character, but because I know how much she means to Cap.
It's been very, very clear.
Yeah.
There's no sort of question about how important the relationship between Peggy and Cap is. It's great, and I mean, there's so many little, and like you said, after the death of Peggy, Bucky is all he has left tying into the past. It's his one last remnant. So, I mean, whenever you get to that point, and Bucky's... I mean, there's a reason Bucky has so many fans, and it's not just because he's a sexy, mysterious man. He's genuinely great. And I mean, whenever Tony's watching the scene and they're, like, sort of realizing what's happening, it keeps cutting back to him. And it's so painful to watch because he knows what he did.
Yeah,
he's like, and he really can't defend himself, and he's not going to. He's not going to try to get around it. Say that I was brainwashed. It wasn't me. It was just like I did it.
What's when he says
that pain and suffering?
It's when he says, "Do you even remember them?" And he just says, "I remember all of them." Like in that one line, and you feel that you're like, "Oh, Bucky."
And that's where people that say, "Oh, we get too many Marvel films," like you actually care about these films, you end up caring about the characters, so stuff like this matters.
And also, you wouldn't get this kind of story if you didn't have the foundational building blocks beforehand. And that's what I was saying about, cinematic universes taking us to interesting new places. Marvel is the only one that's doing it right.
Yeah. And unfortunately, because it's doing it so right, so many other people want to do it.
So everyone blames them for it, but which I understand. I wouldn't blame them. I understand why people... It's a kind of frustrating dilemma. But they are the only ones doing it well. And I hope that they do it for a long time. I don't think that I think it's going to be very difficult for Infinity War to not be a complete mess. A fun one, but I would not be surprised if it's just a complete mess.
I mean, how do you do that movie?
Well, I also said that about Civil War. I couldn't see how they were going to make Civil War the way they did.
And it's the same creative
talking
team.
To Falcon.
And it's the same creative
I think they can make it work.
So it'll be interesting to see where the universe goes forward. But I just loved that there was so much care in the writing of those characters. So that's what I liked the most about Civil War. And I think that other movies of the genre could take a page from their book. Moving swiftly along. Very quickly, I saw Green Room, which is a great kind of neo-noir thriller. It's got
with Patrick Stewart.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yeah, and he's quite terrifying in it. The late Anton Yelchin is in it. He's excellent. It's a real shame, and undoubtedly he will come up again when we discuss Star Trek. But no, it's a really good kind of action thriller, like tense action thriller. And yeah, I really enjoyed it.
I saw a trailer for that. I was really interested in seeing it. I'll try and hunt that down.
It's a good, watch it on Saturday night DVD rental type of film. Cool. Tense as hell. You will be uneasy, but it's great. Who saw The Jungle Book?
I actually did not.
I did either.
It's like I had a reason.
I highlighted this.
It,
I clearly I thought someone had seen it. A lot of
people did. Like, this did amazing at the box office, but
the top
Anthony
5.
and I might be the only people who did not see it in the world, apparently.
Well, it was very good. Jon Favreau is a great director. I can't nail down a particular style that he has, but he just makes very enjoyable movies. And similarly, Jungle Book is very emotionally well-rounded. They decided to touch on darker elements, and I think that was the right choice, but the fun moments are still fun, the happy moments are great, the sad moments work, and none of it feels jarring. It feels like a believable universe. Tonally, I think that's the best thing about it. Visually, it looks fantastic. Disney is the only studio that has managed to get past, I mean, we'll talk about Rogue One, but has managed to get past the uncanny valley defect. With Jungle Book and movies like Cinderella and what else did they do? Maleficent. Although Maleficent I thought was a bit poor visually, but they managed to take
garbage. It ruined my birthday.
But they managed to take that feeling of fakeness and exploit it as a kind of, you are in a make-believe world. You're in a fairy tale world. And I think that's really admirable and probably a very hard thing to do because no one else can seem to do it. I mean, I saw, it's actually right below the list, I'm not going to talk about it, but I saw The Huntsman Winter's War, which...
Whoa! That was a movie.
Which didn't, tried to go for a similar kind of fairy tale type of style and just didn't quite hit that note. But yeah, so I thought Jungle Book was very good and surprisingly well acted from the kid, considering he's acting opposite nothing. Yeah, very good.
That's impressive.
Now, this should be interesting. This is when we all stop being friends. X-Men Apocalypse.
This is the showdown everyone has been waiting for. Okay.
Who wants to... You guys open it positively, and then I'll crush everyone's dreams.
I want to start just by saying how my cinema experience started with this film. So before the movie starts, and I guess it didn't happen everywhere, but it happened here in the States. Before the movie starts, Alexandra Shipp comes on screen, and she's like, "Hi." Well, hold on.
Oh, sorry.
"Hi, I'm Alexandra Shipp. I play Storm in the X-Men Apocalypse." And then she goes off about how it's like, so many people worked together to make this film, and it shows behind the scenes stuff. It's like, we all had a great time doing it. And we'd like to thank you for coming to the movies and helping us keep this industry alive. So I hope that you respect everyone that worked on this project and hope you have just as much fun watching it as we did making it. And that was the only film this year that I saw have a positive message about the industry and how it provides so many great experiences and how it's this wonderful big amalgam project. And it was wonderful and I loved that. And it just set the tone. Because of all the characters, it was Storm, who I was not prepared to like. And I was like, wow, what a film experience. I love this. And then for the next 2 hours, I was in glee. This movie is not the best film ever made. It is not the best X-Men film ever made. It is a cartoon, and it's got elements of Singer that are very, very good, involving Magneto, mainly. One scene in particular. But overall, it is a comic book schlocky adventure that I really, really enjoy. And I can kind of separate myself and go, okay, if I want X-Men 2 or Days of Future Past, I can go watch that. If I want X-Men Apocalypse, I can watch that too. And if I want to die, there's some options there as well in the X-Men universe. The X-Men films have so many different options.
Yeah,
you can the whole range of the rainbow. It's amazing, and I give props to it for still existing to this day and technically being part of the same universe and not all those people that are like reboot it or give it back to Marvel. It's like, isn't it amazing that we're still in the same world?
Part of the reason we have these comic book films is because of the success of X-Men. That's a big part of it. And here we are. Spider-Man's been rebooted 3 times. Batman's been rebooted twice. And
Superman's been rebooted. I mean, it's been ridiculous. But X-Men hasn't.
Nope.
X-Men has worked their ass off to get around every possible option other than rebooting it.
Yeah.
They're doing so much crazy stuff with the timeline that it's like, I can't care that it doesn't make any sense because it's enjoyable. And to a point, it's like, they're trying so hard. We're like, okay, well, we still want to be connected to the reason we're here in the first place. We want to be remembered for people like Patrick Stewart and Hugh Jackman and the start of this series. And like you said, the start of comic movies in general. You know, it's weird because people talk about how the movie started, and people will say, well, actually, it was Spawn and Blade. It's like, no. It's like, oh, well, Spider-Man, too. It's like, yeah, Spider-Man kept the ball running. X-Men was the quarterback. Spider-Man took it in for the touchdown. That's essentially what it was. It's amazing
that
we're here talking about that. Yeah, exactly. It's like X-Men was able to get it kicked off, and Spider-Man kept that going.
Mm. And X-Men then kept it going with the success of the second one, which was fantastic.
And going.
The third one, even though I don't care for it, was a very successful film. And, the X-Men, despite them not being part of the MCU, despite them making bad films, despite them having, inconsistencies in their timeline, the reason the X-Men still actually has any value is because of the quality of the early films, I would say. And then the return to quality with Days of Future Past. Like, that made so much money, and it reminded everybody, hey, remember how awesome the X-Men are?
Yeah.
Like, despite what's going on, see Marvel with Marvel Studios, like...
Ghostbusters.
X-Men are still here, and X-Men is still great. And that's what Days of Future Past did.
Yeah.
As for X-Men Apocalypse, I loved it. X-Men Apocalypse is the film I needed. It's if you were to come to me, and I'm a famous good filmmaker, and you were to say, make an X-Men movie or write an X-Men movie that takes place 80s, is a sequel to First Class and Days of Future Past. It still has to have Mystique as a major character.
But also serves as almost like not like a reboot, but a kickstart in a fresh way that separates it from the early films, so that we can be more like Avengers and stuff like that.
Sure, but even without saying that, I feel like this is the sort of film I would have tried to make.
Make an 80s X-Men film.
Yeah, like they, as a fan, and I will say, I don't know if I would like this as much as if I wasn't an X-Men fan. So, the amount that I love this film, I am fully aware that I am looking at this through the eyes of a major X-Men fan. I have no disillusions about that.
Sure.
That being said, I do think it gets a lot of unfair flack. I am no fan of Jennifer Lawrence's Mystique, but I think she actually, or at least the character, really works in this film. I was disappointed when I saw her just as white blonde girl throughout the film instead of blue Mystique. But the reason that she doesn't dress in, or she doesn't morph into a regular form, they actually provide a reason for it that makes sense and works within the context of the character that we've had with this Jennifer Lawrence Mystique since First Class. I love stuff with Magneto. I love the stuff with Xavier. You have these 3 differing opinions that come out of the events of First Class. You have... the public sees this side where everyone's okay with mutants now. The young teens, including Nightcrawler, can go to the mall and go see Star Wars and not be bothered. Whereas there's no way they could have done that in any of the 3 original films. I like the fact that, hey, people are kind of okay with mutants now because of what happened. Like, a mutant helped kind of save the world and chose not to kill the president and stopped this evil terrorist in Days of Future Past. You know what, mutants, I think we might be able to accept them. And then there's this complete other side that still fears them, and...
It's like, no, you're just not seeing the oppression that the mutants are getting.
Yeah, and then there's this other side again that treats them like circus animals. So you have, the scene with Nightcrawler and Angel in the Fight Club. You have the scene where, even though Magneto saved a man, because he's this evil threat, even though he's proven that he's not that anymore, you've got these people that are like, nope, we have to take you in. You're one of them. You did this. And then there's this other side that's like, you know what? Mutants are okay in society.
Yeah.
And there's these three differing opinions where Xavier has reaped the benefits of what's happened in...
Xavier came out on top.
Xavier came out on top after Days of Future Past, and Magneto, who, was willing to, do whatever he could to prove, mutants are the future, Charles, and everything. And he's the one that...
He silenced his own voice just to give himself happiness.
Yeah, he gave himself happiness, and then in that happiness came this tragedy. And people kind of criticize, well, I don't believe that Magneto, who's, the leader of the Brotherhood and that, would then just go and join Apocalypse. You're finding a Magneto was at the very lowest point of his life.
He's broken. He tried everything.
Yeah.
He tried being the hero of the mutants, and it failed. He tried just being like, I'm just going to live my own life and see if mutants can get accepted into culture. It failed. Everything this man does, he can't win.
Yeah.
So he's finally broken enough where he's like, the guy comes along and says, hey, I'm going to help you out. I'm actually the father of all the mutants, and I'm going to, give you a helping hand. Look what I can do. Magneto's like, fine. He's a broken man seeking some sort of refuge, and this religious figure comes along and gives it to him.
He shows him, just after the lowest point in his life, he takes him back to the other most lowest point in his life, which was the Holocaust.
And he helps him basically, be powerful enough to do something about it.
It's this interesting parallel between Xavier showing Magneto in First Class, if you tap into, your love, you will be the most powerful mutant ever. And then along comes Apocalypse that goes, if you do tap into your rage, you'll be even more powerful. You can basically destroy the world and destroy the Sydney Opera House and all that stuff.
Deal.
And on top of the continued characterization of the three main characters from this trilogy since First Class, you introduce Cyclops, who they do such a fantastic job with. Look, I will say it, god damn it, I fucking cried when he gets his vision back for the first time. He can see, and he sees Jean, and he goes, who's that? That's her? He has this look in his face. I wept. I couldn't believe they were doing Scott and Jean right.
It's perfect.
I loved it.
You've got the man who's afraid to open his eyes, and the girl who's afraid to close hers. It's said right there.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
They did it so well. And I like the stuff with Jean. They do rely maybe a little bit too much on the events of Last Stand by showing that Phoenix is this actual real power that she has that she's trying to control.
Yeah.
They rely maybe too much on that, and she does kind of show how all-powerful she feels Apocalypse. But I think it works, especially if you're going to be expanding upon that in the next film, but if we don't get that, then this is what we're left with. But the only other thing I'll say in terms of something that really probably doesn't work is look at Apocalypse, what his plan is. It's kind of vague and a little too convoluted. He wants to control everybody with Xavier's power, but also for the Earth. And it's...
one or the other, dude.
It's like one of the... you need one or the other. Like, I think the idea of him just trying to take Xavier's power is... and, the X-Men have to fight the Brotherhood. These inexperienced kids have to fight... not the Brotherhood, the Four Horsemen. I think that's...
power imbued inexperienced kids for the most part. And
yeah.
Olivia Munn.
And Olivia Munn. And I think that is more interesting than there's this worldwide apocalypse, for lack of a better term, going on. What would you have had Magneto do during that time? I don't know. Maybe he would have had to have built the machine. I'm not sure, but it's sort of similar to X-Men 3 where only the pawns go first.
Yes.
But you've got the Phoenix who can destroy everybody. And funny enough, there is a deleted scene in X-Men First Class where Magneto goes, Jean, stop them, and does nothing. It's like, well, that kind of explains why you had this giant army then go and try and kill everyone.
Stop them, no.
But so you can't really have it both ways, and the film does try and do that. But regardless, I think the score is fantastic. I think the sequence, and I know this is particularly where Sam and I disagree, the sequence in Alkali Lake, I think really works. I think the Wolverine thing, it is pure fan service.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we give him the comic book accurate, Weapon X. Suit.
It doesn't ignore, but it does kind of...
It retcons.
You question what the hell happened at the end of Days of Future Past with Mystique as Stryker.
Yeah.
Clearly, 10 years later, Stryker found Wolverine again.
She dressed up as Stryker to then give it to Stryker.
That was my biggest issue with it, because it was fan service. It also felt very studio mandated. Wolverine's got to be in the movie somewhere. And all you needed to do was conclude the question of what happened between Mystique, Stryker, and Wolverine. That's all you had to do, and then I would have been fine with it.
But at the same time, it's 10 years later, and something else must have happened. I'm guessing that Mystique saved Wolverine and let him go, and then somehow Stryker found him again.
Yeah.
That's the only logical explanation to how this all happened again.
Yeah.
Because Mystique does say Major Stryker. She references the fact that she knows who he is. I would have liked a line from Stryker where he said, shut up. Do you have any idea what happened when you tried to be me? There's something to explain. But
remember when you were me?
Yeah, so you convinced my wife that Jason was not a threat. I did not put him on ice.
You fool! It's definitely all fan service. I mean, it's one of those things where when I saw it with my brothers, it's one of those moments where you see the helicopter go over and it's like...
Yeah.
It's like, ah!
The music cues that are reminiscent of X-Men 2 are fantastic in that scene, I think. But once again, I am looking at it as a fan. Those are music cues that I recognize because I love X-Men 2. And that stuff, I know there is a big discussion now of how much is too much fan service, and we rely too much on, I know what that is. I know that that's an AT-AT, stuff like that.
I clapped because I remember.
It broke new ground. But I think that, but for me, that in those films, or at least in this film, worked more than it did in Rogue One.
Because you could say the same thing about First Class or X-Men 3.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh man, we got fucking Juggernaut, and Multiple Man. We got him, and he did the thing where there was multiple of them, and his shirt kind of looks like his suit, maybe, sort of, kind of. And we got the Morlocks, sort of, kind of. Yeah. It's like, look at all the things that we sort of, kind of got.
Yeah.
I remember that. I remember The Cure. It's a great band. Shoot The Cure.
The other thing I just will quickly defend is suits. Obviously, there is no X-Men, and I think that's an interesting part of the film where the X-Men should have been a thing after the events of Days of Future Past, but they didn't need to be because the world were accepting of mutants, so there was no need for this undercover team. And therefore, when they then have to go and fight Four Horsemen, they're not gonna have their suits. I love the fact that we get fairly, accurate suits at the end of the film. I love the moment where Cyclops turns around and he's got the yellow Y and he's got a visor in Astonishing. That stuff is fantastic. I like that.
That color's got his red with the little shoulder pieces.
Yeah, all that stuff is there, and that's
white.
Great.
Yeah.
But I would have questioned how the hell they had those had they gone into the final battle with them. I'm fine that they just had generic flight suits.
Yeah, and I mean, people can kind of complain about the Four Horsemen as well, as far as their designs go. But I mean, Mystique almost had Psylocke, Olivia Munn almost had an all-black suit, and they were like, well, we'll make it purple. Which is kind of funny, because it's like, well, she's had a black suit That's not unheard of.
Yeah.
And I mean, Archangel has his metal wings, and he's got like some sort of design on his face to be reminiscent of his old sort of thing there.
The problem is you couldn't make him all blue because you've got 3 blue characters in the film.
And it wouldn't have made any sense. Apocalypse shows up and he's like, I'm going to make you more powerful. He just touches him, turns blue. It's like, oh shit!
I touched you too much.
Are you cold?
And you've also got Apocalypse, who's also like an off, like greyish blue.
He's greyish blue, yeah. I want to talk about the design of Apocalypse real quick before we let Sam tear this film a new one. Yeah. We'll let you get there, but hold on. So Apocalypse.
No, do go on.
People had some issues with the way Apocalypse looked in this film. If you had, this is just me making a general assumption. I'm sure if you're an intelligent person, you probably have something to say. But Apocalypse looks as Apocalypse, as Ultron looks as Ultron, as Doomsday looks as Doomsday. Like any of the characters in any other comic film, like it's as close as you possibly could get. He's got his shoulder pads and his collar piece, and he has the fucking A on his belt there.
He's got tubes.
He's got the tubes. He's got like the lips. He's got it all. He's got the black part on his head. Like it's all there. I don't understand.
They make a point of making his eyes glow, and whenever that happens, I think that's a legitimate like oh shit like moment.
Yeah.
And I know that there were designs from different companies that looked a lot more like comic in terms of how face was going to look.
But his suit made him look like fucking Electro from The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, that was that. And people said, like, I don't get why they didn't just go with that design. Because Oscar Isaac probably wouldn't have been able to act through all that as much as he could here.
Yeah, that's what
and I would much rather have the performance than have him look like the comic, I thought. And I think Oscar Isaac is really, really good. At no point do I think that he's Oscar Isaac. And it's kind of similar. It's not the same, but it's similar to Heath Ledger as the Joker, where I never see Heath Ledger, I see the Joker. In this, I never see Poe Dameron. Like, I only see this apocalypse monster. So, I think they did that. I think they did him really well.
You are both wrong. Your opinions don't matter. You're being paid by Fox.
Well,
Fox has money to pay people.
That's a lie. They couldn't afford all the X-Men for that one Deadpool.
That one Deadpool.
Very well articulated and argued. I would agree that there are things going on with the characters that I feel are authentic. I like that Magneto and Eric are the same person. Magneto and Charles represent two different states of mutant integration into society. I think that's very well realized. My biggest and I will quickly touch on the look of Apocalypse while we're on it. I don't care how he looks, but physically, I think they could have, design-wise and practically, I think they could have done something a little to make him just a bit more, make it look like he can move more. Because in terms of an action movie, he, like, when Quicksilver comes and, like, smacks him around, he moves like a fucking statue. I mean, the guy, it looks like, Oscar Isaac to me looks very uncomfortable in that suit, and I don't think, it doesn't look to me like he can move at all. So in the context of an action movie, I would have revised that design just to make him look a bit more like he could, he could actually go for a brawl with these people, because I don't believe that he
very
can move
bulky.
much.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the only major problem I have with the design. But in terms of the overall movie, what's interesting, I found it interesting hearing you guys talk about how, it's a colourful X-Men movie. My feeling was that it wasn't enough of a colourful X-Men movie. I loved everything with the younger characters, Cyclops, Jean. I think Ty Sheridan's really good casting.
Yeah, same here.
And I thought the chap playing Nightcrawler, I couldn't tell you his name, was really good. I think he was the funniest part of the movie.
Ironically, just quickly, he was originally cast as young Wolverine, X-Men Origins, and then didn't do it to make The Road, Viggo Mortensen instead. And since then, he's had a really good career. He was, in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and he's had a good career. Meanwhile, the kid that played Wolverine in the film, Troy Sivan, who's like a YouTube star. I'm not saying that as an insult. Good for him. He actually has a name. I was watching the original trailer for X-Men Origins a few months ago, and all the comments were like, that's Troye Sivan. But it's just funny how he didn't play Wolverine for that one scene, and instead got to play Nightcrawler for this entire movie. So it's just sometimes things work out.
Yeah. I'll try not to go too into this because we're starting to go a bit far. Yeah, my biggest problem was that I felt like this should have been the 80s cartoon. I know it was a 90s cartoon, but this should have been the cartoon set in the 80s, big and colourful, moves the franchise into new territory, and I felt that it was so, for no reason, tied to First Class and Days of Future Past, either because of Hollywood's obsession with threes, or the fact that like Fox really wanted to sell trilogy box sets of the past few films this Christmas, whatever. I didn't feel like there was a sufficient reason to keep us tethered to the storyline of Xavier, Mystique, and Magneto. I mean, obviously have those characters around, but I didn't feel it was necessary to make them main characters. When Michael Fassbender screams to the skies questions of his own morality, it is brilliant, one, because he's a great actor, but it works, it works, and then it kind of doesn't for me, in that it's Magneto being like, why are you doing this to me again? And I feel the same. It's like, why? Because they end Days of Future Past with him as he is Magneto. And you could have just said he's still doing his Magneto thing. And instead they have to contrive this whole thing where his family get murdered, and spoilers, and all this horrible stuff happens to him. And as much as I understand where you two are coming from, I still don't buy into his teaming up with Apocalypse. I know that I get that the motivation is meant to be a very extreme event that happens to him that would cause him to, reach this lowest point. I still don't believe that Magneto... I don't think it's interesting to, just have Magneto, try and destroy the whole world, including mutant kind. The whole interesting part of Magneto is his philosophy and everything to do with mutants, and I just don't feel that character would ever be pushed to such an extreme where he would just go, fuck everything. Because then he might be able to be pushed that way, but then what's interesting about that? Just philosophically, I don't find that particularly interesting. And I just felt like every time it cut from, I really enjoyed the stuff with like the teenagers going to the mall and all that kind of stuff. And then it just keeps cutting back to mopey Jennifer Lawrence looking completely done with this franchise.
You're not wrong there.
And I can't stand her Mystique. She just looks so bored and disinterested. And that was the problem I had with the movie. And I'll get onto Wolverine in a second. Well, actually, I've kind of already touched on it. They contrive a whole set piece for Wolverine, and it just feels completely... It's only at the service of a cameo, I feel. I know they do a thing with Jean, and it's meant to be kind of nice. I think it kind of comes across a little bit creepier because she's quite young and he's obviously like 50.
To me, it's always come across very creepy. Any person Wolverine has a relationship with, he's already like very true. 200 years their elder. But yeah, my main issue was just that I felt like the movie couldn't decide what it wanted to be. It was constantly at war with itself on deciding if it wanted to be the fun, new, young X-Men with the kind of the pulpy comic book absurdities that we've all, been craving for, or if it wanted to be the more serious Bryan Singer type of, kind of grey muted X-Men. And visually, I thought the whole thing was really ugly, especially towards the climax. And it just, I was bored. I found the first hour was very much full of getting the band together, similarly to Rogue One, I felt. There's a lot of, here's where this character is now, here's this character meeting this character, and I get that it's, establishment and all that kind of stuff, but it went on for so long that I ended up becoming very bored. But when it finally comes to the point when you're like, okay, the X-Men are in their outfits and, it's going to be awesome, and the movie ends. It didn't work for me, and quite frankly, I hated this movie. Wow.
But I if Bryan Singer makes the next one more just... I'm so tired of brooding. I'm so tired of it. And I really feel like this movie was full of it.
You don't want the Brood Queen in the next one?
As much as it sprinkled in that fun stuff, I felt like it was like ball tickling. It was like, hey, you'll get this someday. And I was just like, why can't I have it now? And I just felt like the movie was just constantly contriving reasons to keep us in that kind of trilogy mindset of concluding these characters. And I didn't feel you needed to. I felt that Days of Future Past did such a good job of ideologically realizing where each character landed on their philosophical values, and where they were going forward. And I didn't feel there was a reason to, to have a moment where you have to explain why Magneto is a bad guy again. I thought they were going to have Apocalypse control his mind, and that's why he was doing what he was doing. Might have been less interesting, but the whole thing felt like a contrivance. And as enjoyable on its own as the Quicksilver scene is, it completely cuts the nuts off of what should be a really emotional moment. Tonally, I felt it was really poorly handled. I didn't want to be laughing. I know I've already spoiled the whole thing with Magneto's family. You could probably guess what's going to happen to them. It's pretty obvious. I won't spoil the other bit, but it's a moment that is moved on very quickly because the pacing is so rushed. There's so many things happening. We've got to click on, and we can't just take a moment to dwell in that moment and spend time with those characters. And I felt like Ty Sheridan was robbed in that respect. I thought the Wolverine thing was overlong, completely unnecessary, and had it been cut, you would have had much more space to handle those characters and those relationships in a much more organic way. It ends where you want it to start for me personally, and that was I wasn't a happy one with this one, but I haven't lost faith in the franchise, but I do think something needs to change now. I think we should move on from... I don't mind them being in the movie, but I don't need to see Mystique, Magneto, and Xavier as main characters again. I'm really tired of it. I have no interest in seeing Mystique lead the team next time. I think Jennifer Lawrence is crap, and she bores me every time she's on screen. And I thought I didn't think much of the action either. I thought it was all very, very CGI-y, very... Everyone defined the laws of gravity. It didn't feel... I didn't feel like anyone had any weight to them. I thought Apocalypse's plan was dull. Yeah, it didn't work for me.
You're wrong. No, I will. It's funny to me on some of the things that we completely disagree on, because to me is the pulpiest sort of the cartoon X-Men film we've had. Now, could we get one that is more like that? I definitely think we can, but I maybe it's because I understand Fox's predicament of, well, we could be super colourful like Marvel, or we could try and not be exactly like that and try and stick with what's gotten us this far. It's this weird predicament that they're in.
I don't want to condemn the ambition of trying to have the weightier character stuff of the Bryan Singer films and introduce a more kind of fun spirit of the Marvel movies and have that be what the film is. But what I felt was that all the character stuff just felt contrived to me. It didn't feel like we had to have them as the main characters again. And you've just got all those far more interesting, youthful characters that breathe a fresh new life into the franchise going forward. And it just keeps cutting away from it. And I'm just like, no, when they go to the mall, I want to go with them. And we don't see anything. I mean, there's a deleted... We see them coming out of the cinema, and there's a few deleted scenes, which I felt would have worked still in the movie, of them in town. Might not necessarily have been necessary, but you spend time with those characters, and it's fun. And it is also it's very realised in its 80s setting. I thought Days of Future Past was very well realised in its 70s setting. Yeah. I thought the complete opposite with this movie. I didn't feel the 80s.
Oh, really? I definitely felt the 80s. That's surprising to me.
Yeah, it just didn't... Maybe if they'd kept those scenes in, then I would have felt it. But I felt it with those characters. I didn't feel it with anyone else.
The thing with the mall scene, and I do love the mall scene, but I love it as an extension of opposed to, I think it would have been
Sure.
tonally jarring. And we go from like the Xavier like learning about the murder of Magneto's family, and and the fact that Magneto might have killed all these guards, and Apocalypse trying to recruit all these people to the mall scene. And tonally, I understand the choice to get rid of it. And I actually think you needed to follow up on Magneto in this film. I don't think you needed to follow up on Mystique. I kind of would have been okay with her being this figure. I like how she's this figure in history of this person that saved, the president. Like, I like the fact that they learn about her in schools. That should be a giant political event that people should learn about. But did I need Mystique in this film? Absolutely not. And I don't care for Jennifer Lawrence's Mystique.
I also felt that the conclusion to Magneto's arc was incredibly simple, and it felt like it came from a cartoon, where it's, you have a family with the X-Men, Magneto. I didn't buy into it.
I wasn't buying into it with Mystique's speech. I do think they might have needed to say that Quicksilver was Magneto's son in order to...
Yeah, I didn't understand why he didn't say it.
Yeah, I like the moment where it goes to say it and then doesn't, but at the same time, for Magneto's character arc to fully make sense, you might have needed to have him say that. At the same time, I do think the moment where he decides to help the X-Men is a great moment in the film. Does it come out of left field a bit? Yeah. I think they realized that, and that's why they put in that montage of the stuff from First Class, try and make it make sense. I would not be surprised if that wasn't in the script.
Yeah.
But in saying that, I actually do think you needed Magneto in this film. I think following up on his story and the prejudice that exists still with mutants, I think was something that was really important in the film. I don't think... I think I might have liked it less if that wasn't there. Just showing, oh, you know what, mutants are accepted in society now, except for these small pockets where, they're putting them on display like freaks. I think you still needed to show and
sure.
That's why I think that really serves a purpose, and it might maybe be a little too dark for this style of film. It is very dark what happens, but it's this giant emotional thing that I do think really works in the film, and I think helps the film.
Sure, I get that. Moira McTaggart was pointless.
I was really hoping we wouldn't mention her, just to be like, oh right, Moira was in the film.
To show how pointless she was.
I was sitting this whole time, I was like, oh man, I can't wait to mention that we didn't talk about Moira.
I got angry. I got angry in the cinema when it's like Xavier's like in her arms or something, and she's like, oh Charles, and I literally said, she has done nothing this entire movie. What is the point of her? And again, that just feels like an excuse to tie us more to First Class.
It does, at the same time, the thing to show like what exactly Apocalypse is. I like that we used an existing character to do that, as opposed to Xavier just goes into the CIA or the FBI or whatever to try and figure it out. But it's Moira, and I would have been happy if they did not bring her with them after that.
She didn't have to be part of the main adventure.
If she was just in that one scene, I would have liked it more.
Like how they utilized an already established character. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then, like you said, they make it so it's a whole big deal throughout the film. It's like, oh, that's right. Took her memories away.
Yeah. My parents didn't remember her.
A lot of people didn't.
No, so they said, oh, it's Rose Byrne.
Right.
I was like, yeah, she's... And my dad said, didn't she have a Scottish accent? And I was like, no, she was American. She was in First Class. And like, I realized, oh my god, you don't remember. Like, that's how important she was in First Class, and how much time has passed since then, like 5 years. Yeah. And yeah, we didn't need her in there.
While I'm on a slightly negative train, I saw The Neon Demon, which was... crap, I really should know what the name of the director, and it is... It's like Nicholas Sparks something or other.
Nicholas Sparks!
Wow!
Nicholas Winding Refn. He's a Danish chap. He did Drive, which is a really good film.
Drive's amazing.
This whole movie is visually fantastic, technically brilliant. It looks amazing. The lighting is some of the best I've seen in a motion picture. And Jenna Malone in particular is great. The cast is really good. Problem I have with it is that it's gotcha. It's kind of like clever gotcha is meant to be that the movie is pretending to be really profound and important, and then it ends in the trashiest way possible, and it's meant to be a kind of commentary about how the modelling industry is so devoid of subtext, or there's nothing at the core of it. It's very superficial. I didn't need to sit through a whole movie to know that. I already knew it. You know what I mean? Like I like that the filmmakers are having fun with the trashier ending, and some people love it for that, and I completely get it because I love really trashy films. It feels like something out of like a 70s low budget like Mad Max ripoff or something. What happens, and so I admire its audacity to do that, but in terms of like what I took away from it and the what the whole thing was ultimately in service of, I didn't need to see a movie to know that. I already knew it. So that's all I have to say about the Neon Demon. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2: Out of the Shadows.
What a fun movie. I think it was the dumbest
fun.
thing I've ever seen, and I loved every second, except for the character of Karai. That's all I gotta say.
Was she in it?
I am.
Yeah.
I'm certainly no like childhood fan of Ninja Turtles, but I've gotten to like the Turtles a little bit more as I've gotten older, weirdly enough. But
now that I'm a full-grown adult,
yeah.
I can appreciate this most absurd idea.
They weren't on TV that much when I was a kid. Like the live-action show was,
yes.
And I really liked that. And I remember my mind being blown when they crossed over with the Power Rangers. But anyway, I actually enjoyed Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadow with you.
With views and such.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. It knew exactly what it was, and they didn't try and be anything more than that. And I gotta admit, good job.
It was a Saturday morning cartoon.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I mean, the script was pile of wank, but it was fun. It was. I mean, if some people really hate this movie, I completely understand. But it was fun. It was harmless. It was completely stupid. And if you told me that this movie insulted your intelligence, again, I would not argue with you. But it was fun, and it was fun. And I took my girlfriend to this, and she had a great time. And she hates the Ninja Turtles. So that should tell you something. It's complete schlock. It is utter schlock. But you know what? It was fun. It was light. It was about being more optimistic. It was nice. It was nice. It's stupid, but it was all right.
Yeah.
Kirk, you've got a movie that I've never heard of on your list called Popstar Never Stop Stopping. Did you want to say anything about that?
Yeah, Popstar Never Stop Stopping was the film that The Lonely Island made. So Andy Samberg and those guys, Akiva and Yorma, there we go. I didn't even have to
Your
look
mum?
that up.
What?
No, I really like The Lonely Island. I'm a fan of Andy Samberg. I like Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And I saw this film kind of not being sure if I'd like it. But I ended up really liking it. And it was a film that was like a mockumentary and was a tremendous parody or send-up of people who are more famous and have more money than they need from the music industry. Like somebody like a Justin Timberlake, or not a Justin Timberlake, he's in the movie, I was thinking about him. Someone like a Justin Bieber, who I'm sure cares way more about how many likes on an Instagram post than he does about actual problems in the world. Like, it's a tremendous commentary on that stuff, while also doing the silly songs that The Lonely Island do. So in that way, doesn't fully work, I don't think, but I actually enjoyed it a lot. You know, it like they sort of send up like the thing that music has now, where in pop, where you do like there's all these collaborations for no reason. Like, did you ever want to hear Rihanna play with Maroon 5?
Music is now YouTube.
Yeah,
you put a famous other personality in your video or in your song to gain it more views.
Yeah, and I don't know how any of these, like, I've never seen any of the people that really do this in concert before, but like, it's not like if you go to like a Rihanna concert, you're then going to have Eminem or Maroon 5 or anyone she's done a song with suddenly come out. So, like, in that case, you just get... I know from The Voice in Australia, when will.i.am was a judge, when he sang a song that had Justin Bieber, like, Bieber showed up as, like, on the screen, like, singing his part. Through a screen. Yeah, not even that good. Like, you know, he was a recording, both in voice and...
He wanted to ask him about Khan.
What?
You know, in Star Trek.
Oh, right.
In Into Darkness, when they have that Skype call.
They do.
Clearly a very successful joke.
Noonan Singh is the man that killed Kirk. Don't trust him, Spock. Punch him to death. Rest in peace, Leonard Nimoy. Anyway, Popstar Never Stop Stopping it was a fun film. Just quickly, Sam, I don't know if you'll need to edit this part out or not. There was another film I saw called Elvis and Nixon. Have you seen that as well?
I have not. I realised, just as I asked you to talk about Popstar Never Stop Stopping, I breezed past Central Intelligence and Elvis and Nixon, so if you have anything to say about those, please do.
Sure. Elvis and Nixon was fantastic. Sort of silly, but it's a film about when Elvis Presley met Richard Nixon. It's one of the most requested photos in all the archives of the White House. And Michael Shannon plays Elvis, sort of well. And Frank Langella. No, Frank Langella was Nixon in Frost Nixon. Kevin Spacey, his co-star from Superman Returns, plays Nixon, and he does a pretty good job. But what's funny to me is the script, the whole, like Elvis's big plan of like what he wanted to do.
His big plan.
Yeah, his idea apparently, or what this film tells you, that he wanted to go undercover, for the government, try and stop kids from doing drugs. Meanwhile, this is Elvis, who I'm pretty sure did some drugs. But yeah, it's a bizarre, like Elvis.
He wants all the drugs to himself.
Yeah. Elvis comes across as like this bizarre figure that's very... paranoid isn't the word, but like he's so concerned with this and so obsessed with being like what was the term he used, like this undercover agent for some reason. But the actual meeting between Elvis and Nixon, that's like when the film gets to that, it is so fantastic. Like Nixon getting so mad without being able to show how mad he is at Elvis Presley, because like apparently he's got like a thing of M&Ms on his table that like no one else is allowed to touch, and an unopened bottle of Dr. Pepper that no one else is allowed to touch except for Nixon. But Elvis just goes right along and like has a handful of M&Ms, has a Dr. Pepper, and Nixon's like to his secretary, "You know what? I'd like one of those too." And like it's so great. I really, really liked that film. It was one of the talks of Sundance or whichever film festival part of. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. On the completely opposite end of the spectrum, there's Central Intelligence, and I like The Rock. Kevin Hart is fine. Film was stupid. And you go into it, if you've seen the trailer, The Rock in high school was like this overweight guy who loved to sing pop songs in the shower and gets embarrassed at like their graduation or their homecoming or whatever, and he gets thrown out in front of the whole school, like naked by this bully. Turns out to be Jason Bateman, grow up, who was actually great. And the film is about and the one person that helps him out was the most popular kid in school, Kevin Hart, who gives him like his Letterman jacket, cover up his junk. And then later in life, they're going to have their 20-year graduation.
20-year graduation.
Their 20-year
reunion.
Thank you. And The Rock gets in contact with Kevin Hart, and you learn that he's actually working for the CIA. So you think, by what you see in the trailer, that he grew up to be this cool, badass guy. Look at him, he's The Rock. Instead, he's still the same dork that he was in high school, just in the body of Dwayne Johnson. And that part of the film I actually liked. That was a surprise. But it's silly and it's over the top, and it wasn't for me. I'm sure those sorts of comedies are for people. And that's what, like I said about Deadpool, that's not my style of comedy. But it's not a bad film. It was a film where they clearly had fun making it. It's one of those films that has the bloopers over the credits. And by the bloopers, it was clear that they had a fucking ball making it. But I wouldn't really recommend it to... I wouldn't recommend it to like the people that I'm in the company of. Like, if you like, silly Hollywood comedies, then I like it. I didn't particularly like this, and I like to try and support.
I don't. I'm done with The Rock.
Hey, I grew up with The Rock. I can't help it.
Goodbye, Rock.
I'll try and breeze past some of these because we're running a bit far into it. Now You See Me Too was complete and utter nonsense. It's like the definition of thinking it's clever and it's not, but it was quite a bit of fun. Warcraft was so boring, so dull. It was exactly the opposite of Gods of Egypt. It was a shit movie and it was no fun at all.
Oh.
Finding Dory. I thought, and I know other people have seen this, but I was just going to go into it. I thought this was, no one's going to remember it, but I found it very, very funny. I think it's one of the funniest Pixar movies. Having said that, I couldn't tell you one joke. But I laughed a lot when I saw it, and I genuinely found it very funny. Other than that, couldn't really remember much.
I wish I found Finding Dory funny when I watched it. The only funny character I found was the octopus. I thought this was like one of the worst Pixar films I'd ever seen. It was so blatantly just Finding Nemo with Toy Story 2 thrown in there and some little bit of Toy Story 3.
Yeah.
And it was just a sad attempt at a sequel. I was kind of astounded at how Pixar was able to make something like this. Did not like Finding Dory.
Wow.
Take that,
there
Ellen.
You go. Some people really didn't like The Shallows. I quite enjoyed it as like a kind of B-movie shark film. And I fancy Blake Lively, and she looked great.
Don't tell Ryan.
Reynolds.
Gosling.
Did anyone see Independence Day Resurgence?
Oh, damn right I did.
What did you think?
That fucking film sucked. I put the fucking early in the sentence.
Fucking film.
Let me go again. That film fucking sucked. That was the worst thing I'd... Well, you know what? It was not the worst film I saw in the cinema last year. Actually, it was, but it didn't offend me as much as another film. But, yeah, that was pure garbage. I have some fun with the original film. Very schlocky, very over the top, but I think it kind of works for that film.
Yeah.
When they try and do that in places here, it just does not work. It was it was garbage.
The first film does such a good job. It's so earnest, the first film, that you can't help but get on board with it. Mm-hmm. I really love the first movie. It's not like one of my favourite films, but I think it works really well. What I found with Independence Day Resurgence, it was crap, but it was very entertaining, and I did laugh at some bad moments. What I found with this movie is that it lacked conviction in its silliness. The first one is so self-assured that you're just like, yeah, fuck it, let's all band together to defeat aliens. And the second one is completely dumb. It doesn't have those moments. It's completely tone deaf. It's like when they're flying through a London that is completely getting completely demolished, and Jeff Goldblum's like, they like to get the landmarks.
Yeah. And also,
And it's like,
how do you feel about
thousands of people aren't dead.
How do you feel about London always being blown up in films?
It's nice that they think about us.
I mean, it should say London is one of the most recognizable cities. Like, people know what London is.
I'm actually really sick of seeing London in every blockbuster lately. It's because everyone gets tax breaks here to film in England, but it's always the same spot in London as well.
Yeah. It's always where Big Ben is, and the giant Ferris wheel.
Yeah. The London Eye.
That's what it's called. Thank you.
Big wheel.
Big wheel.
Big wheel. Big Ben, big wheel.
Did either of you see Ghostbusters?
No.
Everyone was way too kind to this movie because they didn't want to be labelled a sexist. I'm saying it now. It was crap. It was very not funny at all. I was bored because I wasn't laughing whatsoever. It presents plot points and then forgets about them really quickly. It concludes a plot point that it never set up, and it's very confusing. I can't emphasize this enough. The movie is not funny, so it fails.
Wow, that says it. That says it all. You're labeled as not funny, then you don't work.
Yeah. There's tons more things I could say about it, but it's very much, there's no script. It's very ad lib heavy, and that's, some people will be into that, some people won't. It was crap. Plain and simple, and everyone was like, well, it wasn't that bad. It was. Moving on. Star Trek Beyond. I really enjoyed this movie.
I love this movie. It was really good.
I thought it was very good.
Okay. No.
Go see it, everybody.
Yeah, I don't think there's any more I can say about it. I've done a review. What I like about this, it reinforces what Star Trek is about, that kind of utopian future, and we should all be friends and get along, and it's kind of that, you've got that kind of, there's almost a meta beat in there about the more action-driven Hollywood need to turn Star Trek into an action franchise versus the more philosophically charged foundational roots that birthed the material, and I like that's what motivates the battle between the good and bad guys. I think that's quite a clever touch. It's not amazing, but I really enjoyed it, and I think it was very earnest, and they do a great thing with Spock that both honors Leonard Nimoy's memory and also does a really interesting thing with that character, and they wouldn't have been able to do that if they didn't do the alternate timeline mechanic that they set up in 2009. I loved that mechanic when they did it, and I thought they did a great job with it this time. So, great job.
I agree. Yeah.
Yes.
I really enjoyed this film. I got to admit, I just love how it feels like an episode of the old show. Done, with a new cast and a really big budget. Like, it feels like I was talking about with Apocalypse, how it kind of felt like a episode of the cartoon done in the context of the Bryan Singer films. Like, to me, this felt like an episode of the original series done in the context of this J.J. Abrams Star Trek universe. And I think, I was really worried when that first trailer came out. And I think that
Justin
Lin, I think he did a really fantastic job.
And what I love about it is that every character has something to do. Mm-hmm. Uhura they give her something proactive to do, but she's not forced into an action role that she wouldn't be in, which I like. I thought the dynamic between Bones and Spock was fantastic, and Chris Pine is finally likable as Kirk. Which is good. I liked him in the first movie. I can't stand him in Into Darkness. I'm so glad they've finally dropped that frat boy thing. And again, I like that meta beat of turning him more into, recognizing that this version of the character only joined because of his dad, and it's like the only characteristic he seemed to have up till now. And now he's finally more commanding, and there's more of that Shatner-esque personality in there. But it's Chris Pine. He's doing his own thing. I like it. As is Zachary Quinto. He's also likable as Spock. which I found hard to find in the previous films. It feels hopeless that we're trying to breeze past these because we now have to talk about Suicide Squad. I don't have too much to say about this movie. It was a complete mess, horribly, some of the worst editing I've seen in a movie recently. It took all the worst elements of the DC universe, and it was so driven by fan service, like superficial fan service, like everyone knows Harley Quinn.
Everyone knows Harley Quinn's butt.
Yeah. And I feel so sorry for any female actress in this franchise or any female character. They're so poorly done. The movie made no sense. It was obnoxious. I didn't hate it because I could watch it. I found entertainment in it, which is really sad. Takes me to a sad place, but in the sense that the only DC movie that I like is one that is absolutely awful but is entertaining, because the other two movies I wouldn't watch again. This one I could sit through again, even if it pissed me off a bit. I found entertainment value in it. It was awful.
I don't know if I've hated a film that I've seen in the cinema as much as I hated this. I personally think I prefer Batman vs Superman.
Wow.
That's I hate.
Wow.
I hate this so much. I don't know. I don't know if I can say anything else. Like I'm sure people who love it might want me to expand on why I hate it, but I'm sorry, I hate it. There's so little that works, if anything. I think the one thing that kind of works is Amanda Waller. You know, I think they did her kind of well, except for the fact that she's a complete pushover at the end. I think that the Amanda Waller that just randomly killed all those people in that one secret base would have then said, no, screw you guys, and pressed the button and killed them all.
Yeah, that's the problem with Amanda Waller that I have, is that we never get inside of her head. We're told that she has maybe a secret agenda planned against the Suicide Squad that maybe doesn't line up with what the government wants, and then she's put into the city for, why is she in the city? I don't know. Why is it a secret that she's in the city? I don't know. Yeah. Who are these people that she just killed? But I don't understand. There's so many questions about this film. I'm with Kirk. I hate it. I hate it so much. There was so much of the movie where I was like sitting forward in my seat, just trying to understand what was happening in front of my eyes. I could not get my head around what was this film, and it was frustrating. It was just awful in so many ways. I hate it. I hate it so much. People say it's a colorful film. Yeah. It's not a colorful, bright film. It's one of the darkest films I've ever seen.
It is literally
it's colorful. It's colorful in terms of all the afterthought colorful.
It's colorful in advertisement.
Yeah. It's the marketing's colorful, and you know what's funny is you have I watched Escape from Arkham, I think it's called,
Assault
which is
on Arkham.
An animated Assault on Arkham. And it's not that amazing, and there are still elements of like obnoxious elements in that movie, but it is so much better, and it's exactly what Suicide Squad could have been. I think with Suicide Squad, you know, all you need is a story about Amanda Waller. You just need a story about how people can't hope to control freaks like this. That's all you've got to do. You've got to have it completely backfire on them. You don't have to say something huge, but like it's like someone hiring the Joker to do a job. Of course it's not going to go well for you. He doesn't want it to go well. And you can have a thing about, well, bad guys are bad guys for a reason. You could have done something with that. Instead, it's just Guardians of the Galaxy light, and I've lost one family, I'm not going to lose another, even though we've only been friends for 5 minutes. And though I pissed myself when Will Smith's daughter comes on the screen and she's like, don't do it, Daddy. Awful movie.
Scary bat person.
Yeah, right. And I also thought Will Smith was miscast.
I thought Will Smith was quite bad in this, and people seem to think he's the best part of the film. I just want to say one other thing about Suicide Squad. There's the scene where Captain Boomerang throws the boomerang with the camera on it to scope the area, and it's a fucking boomerang, so it should be spinning around. The footage they should be seeing should be like, whoa.
It's also super slow, like it's the remote control batarang from the Arkham games.
Yeah. Like it's clearly a drone shot or maybe a crane shot, but like it's they treat it like it's a drone that they've let out, and it's a boomerang.
Awful movie.
The film's garbage.
Very true. And the very last bit, and putting Margot Robbie in the original Bruce Timm outfit for like 3 seconds, fuck you hard.
Yeah, that was
It's so bad. Where are they? They're in like another dimension. They're in the dark void.
Yeah.
What is that scene?
Yeah.
I'll start my thoughts on I'm skipping a lot of movies, but we have gone on.
You're going to skip Jason Bourne? What's wrong with you?
Well, do we have much to say about Jason Bourne? I thought it was pretty underwhelming.
It was underwhelming. I kind of liked it, but it was underwhelming and kind of boring.
Don't Breathe was surprisingly good. It wasn't amazing, but it was technically the filmmaking team did a good job there. The best parts of that movie is that they don't do jump scares they don't drown the audio mix in like loud noises to scare you. They just do a simple pan to the bad guy, and it's very creepy and effective. There were elements of this movie I liked, but then there's a plot beat where they imply that the main characters of our film, or like the main protagonists, are actually the people in the wrong, which I found an interesting concept. And then they just happen to be it happens to be okay, because it turns out he's like a monster anyway, like he's done horrible things. Just felt like they were like, well, we if they're attacking a blind guy, he's, it's like they were worried that they'd get slammed for having a blind guy be the main threat. Sausage Party, I like Seth Rogen. I like that Seth Rogen movies go one step further to at least try and say something, or at least have a script or have characters. It wasn't that amazing. I probably wouldn't laugh if I watched it again, but I found something to admire in that it actually tried to be a movie. There are so many comedies that don't even give a shit. Did you want to say anything about The Accountant?
I think The Accountant is fantastic. Did you see The Accountant, Sam?
No, I completely missed it.
This was a film that kind of got a bit of a mixed reaction, unfortunately, and I kind of understand why. It does kind of get treated like a film that's setting up like a potential franchise, but I would actually like to see this character again. It's not like Taken, where you kind of go, how, like I'd be okay with more Taken films if they were about Liam Neeson going on different missions. Instead, people keep on getting taken in his life, including himself. So I liked The Accountant. I thought Ben Affleck was fantastic. I just had a lot of fun with it. If you haven't seen it, it's a very cool film. You might find certain things in it kind of predictable, but I enjoyed it a lot, and I'd recommend it to people who just kind of like stylistic films. That's what it really was.
Doctor Strange.
Good movie. I liked it. I liked Wong.
I thought great movie. I loved it.
I thought it didn't go far enough, but it was a good movie.
Oh, I liked it the most. Okay.
Yeah.
I think the sequence where he is introduced to the mystical arts and he's sent on that completely crazy trip of psychedelic imagery and all that kind of Jack Kirby-esque sort of stuff. Steve Ditko, sorry. Oh, that's really bad of me.
Steve will be so mad.
Oh God.
Stan will laugh.
That kind of imagery, I think that's the best part of the movie, because it is so absurd and so out there and so wacky, and yet I felt that the movie still felt like very familiar in terms of its story. I like Benedict Cumberbatch, but that arc is very familiar, and I felt that even though I admire that each action scene has a very varied set of like action mechanics, like the rules of like it's like a different set of powers used or a different dimension or whatever. Yeah. They still find a way to ground these sequences in really mundane, bland locations, to the point where it still felt like some of the movie was bland to me. I love the finale. I think that's really a clever twist to the kinds we've seen. But there was a lot. I felt like the movie should have been, funnily enough, stranger. But I still think it was good.
I really liked Benedict Cumberbatch. I really liked the whole cast, actually. I thought everybody was really well cast. I love that we kind of got a really faithful adaptation, like original stuff. I thought that was a great way to make the first film, sort of go back to the basics. And I do fully expect things to get weirder in the future, and I don't like using that as an excuse for them not doing it here. I think that's always a cop-out, but at the same time, I know the world that Marvel set up in their films, so I expect things to get a little bit weirder the more he's in tune with powers that he has.
Sure.
He was at a very basic level here, so I was kind of okay with not going full Doctor Strange with this. I had a lot of fun with it. I saw this multiple times. I enjoyed it every single time I watched it. I never got sick of it. I just thought the film really worked. I will say that I think the soundtrack is way too close to the Star Trek soundtrack. The theme, like the quote-unquote Doctor Strange theme that plays over the credits, is very close to Michael Giacchino's.
I think he did. I think he composed it.
Yes. Yeah, the guy who composed that did Star Trek, Doctor Strange, and Rogue One this year.
Yeah.
All the same person.
So we heard him a lot this year.
He's doing Spider-Man: Homecoming.
He is, yeah. Yes. He has just suddenly exploded. Like everyone kind of knew him for Star Trek, and now he's going to be.
He did an excellent score for Inside Out. I'll give him that, and Star Trek. He's done good work. Actually.
Yeah, I think he does. He has done really good work.
He does quality work. He's the only kind of composer still doing that style of work as well.
Yeah, there are certain parts of the soundtrack that I love in Doctor Strange, like where
he first goes to Kathmandu.
Yeah,
the music there really makes you like it's important in the scene.
Yeah,
it's not drowned out by anything else. The music is the most present thing.
Yeah,
and I mean the other rendition of the theme in the credits that's played on the guitar sounds way better.
Yes,
because it's different and it sounds kind of psychedelic in a sense. I love that version.
Yeah,
and sort of mystical. And the other thing I do like about the score is when everything's going backwards, it changes time. Like the music almost sounds like it's going backwards, like he does this certain thing. I just thought that was super clever. It just added to the atmosphere. When I figured out that's what I was hearing, I was like, oh, that was super clever. But I thought, I'm glad that this was nominated for special effects at the Oscars, because I did think that the city folding stuff was so cool and so creative. When people say, oh, it's like Inception on crack, I mean, they're not wrong. Like, there are all these little things, like when, either Doctor Strange or Mordo, like, fly through, or, like, slide down the inside of a train. Like, all these little things that happen. If you're familiar with New York, then I think there's all these little things to look for. Just look great.
Yeah. I was really glad that that the portal to London got blown up.
London got destroyed again. Oh no! I really liked, once again, as a fan, when you kind of figure out, oh, those are the Sanctum Sanctorums, and like, oh, that's the Eye of Agamotto, and like when he finally mentions Dormammu, like all these little things where you go, oh, cool, like they're doing all of this already.
It feels a little like classic, like Spider-Man or X-Men, where it's like, oh, they're doing it.
Yeah, it felt like a classic Doctor Strange comic to me. So
I get that. I get that. At the same time, when Thor from 2011 opens with a magical rainbow and like frost giants attacking a magical kingdom, it's a bit like, well, I think we have license to just dive into it at this point. But I see your point.
Well, they do very similarly open with the Ancient One fighting Caecilius.
They do.
A mirror dimension.
Yeah, that's a fair argument.
Mirror dimension.
Asshole.
I will touch on it briefly. Arrival is one of the best movies of the year.
So good, it made Sam go through puberty again.
Oh, the ghost is clear.
I know. Doctor Strange is currently like turning my age back. But yeah, Arrival's really good. It's incredible. It's science fiction of the best kind. It does a really clever twist on the whole like aliens come down and visit Earth, or like alien invasion genre. And there's a great emphasis on language and linguistics and how that informs how we think. And there's a brilliant narrative. just like narratively, it's very ballsy. I didn't see it. I didn't see where this movie went coming. I thought I know Anthony doesn't like Amy Adams, but I thought she was great in this. And she was great in Nocturnal Animals as well, which I saw in the same week, which is also a great movie. Actually, I can actually cover both of these movies. Arrival and Nocturnal Animals both do really clever things with their screenplays, and they're both incredibly well written. And Amy Adams is great in both of them. Nocturnal Animals is really dark, but it does a great job. It's like a story within a story, but it does a great job of connecting it all through theme. It's brilliantly executed. And Arrival, likewise, atmospheric, science fiction of the best possible kind. It's about stuff. It's about us coming together. It's about how we need to communicate with each other. It's really great, and you will not guess where it's going. I'm just going to breeze through these ones. I saw Jackie last week, which was Natalie Portman is brilliant in it. I never saw Black Swan, so I've never gotten a glimpse of like her kind of Oscar chops.
Her true talents.
But she's brilliant. But she's brilliant in this. Yeah. And there are a couple of moments where the movie kind of, it's got that kind of Oscar bait touch where they can't just have a moment and not say anything. Like the characters have to then come out with the dialogue and say what she's feeling, which is slightly frustrating.
Big emotional speech.
But I mean, they blow JFK's head right in front of you, and it is the audacity to do that I find very admirable. Not many people would have had the balls to do that. And yeah, it's really fascinating. I've never heard of Jackie Kennedy. Obviously know of her, but I never heard of any of this stuff that she had to go through. So I found it in that respect, I almost thought that kind of hurt the movie, because they talk about her legacy, and honestly, I've never heard of anything outside of her being the woman that was his wife and that was next to him when he got shot. So you can see that in different ways, but yeah, I thought it was a good film, and Natalie Portman is without a doubt fantastic in it. Even though it has that dialogue, it also has a very restrained execution in kind of its subtlety. At the same time, so yeah, it's a good one.
That was a film
fantastic.
That that was a film I saw the trailer for. I immediately went, and I don't think it's come out in Australia yet. So yeah, I don't know.
It's good.
I really see that.
It was shot in 16mm, and it really kind of complements the style and the time period that it's going for. Though anytime it cuts between like footage that was actually on TV from that time, and then like there's like a sequence where Jackie shows someone through the White House, and it was an actual program screened on like CBS or something, and you can really tell when it cuts from the actual footage to the movie footage because the borders change. But yeah, anyway, that's only one tiny nitpick. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them.
I didn't see it. What do you think, Kirk?
I saw it. I liked it. I liked it, but I don't know if I want to see it again or if I have. Kinda nice to reminisce and go back to the Harry Potter world for a little bit. I gotta admit, when the film opened with the Warner Brothers logo and we went through it and we kind of had the Harry Potter theme, I went, "Oh, it takes me back." And
see, I groaned instantly when
I'm back in this miserable magical world.
I only felt that because I was not expecting them to do that at all. So when they did that, I was like, "Oh, we're back in the Harry Potter world." And then nothing else in the film made me feel like that at all. Nothing else made me feel that magic that the Harry Potter films made me feel. This was dull, and it was kind of boring and really convoluted, and I didn't really like any of the characters at all. Kind of the Muggle in it I enjoyed, but I found the film kind of boring, and I liked Colin Farrell, like his performance.
But
That's all I'll say about that.
and what? Yeah, I laughed out loud with what happens at the end.
See, that's where
yeah,
I groaned.
When what did I think of this movie? What's his name? Stephen Hawking.
Potter.
What's his name?
Newt Scamander,
Yeah.
Eddie Redmayne.
Eddie Redmayne. He that whole character felt like a bunch of American executives went into an office and said, what is the most desirable British character we can conjure up?
Yeah.
And it turns out the best that they can come up with is just Matt Smith's Doctor Who. It felt through and through exactly like that character. And like he's got the coat and all that kind of stuff. It just felt like it felt very cartoonish in contrast to Daniel Radcliffe's Harry Potter, who felt very realistic to me. I always felt. I've gone back and revisited the Harry Potter movies, and I've actually kind of gained a new respect for them. What I found with Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, it was the characters just weren't interesting enough for me, and I found that the film was way too preoccupied with setting up half a dozen sequels, then getting you to care about those characters, and then saying, well, good news, you can see more movies with them. Yeah. And like you said, Kirk, I found it fairly boring, and I felt it lacked scary moments. You know, I remember being really. I still find Philosopher's Stone pretty creepy. You know, stuff with Voldemort to the end, who looks fucking petrifying. And you know, they had those darker elements, the Harry Potter movies, that were a little more, you know, make you a little more well-rounded as a child. You know, you need those darker elements to recognize the threats and stuff. I felt this completely lacked that, and it felt very bland in its execution to me. A lot of the movie felt very fake. I thought the design of the contents of Newt Scamander's briefcase just looked like a studio.
Yeah, and there was no, like, they didn't tell you how big it was or anything like you just kind of meant to.
Yeah.
Oh, it's magic. You get it.
You get it.
Yeah, I thought it was a really. I can sort of understand why they would. If someone explained that, if the designer explained to me why he did that, I'm sure I could understand it. But it looked like, oh, they shot it at Pinewood, you know.
Yeah.
So no, but either way, I've no interest in seeing the future movies, especially with what they do with Colin Farrell, because I thought he was the best part about it.
Yeah, I don't need to see. I don't know if I'll ever have the image of Farrell.
Oh, okay, we're good. We're gonna spoil it. Okay.
Spoilers. Yeah. So, sorry, I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, I laughed out loud. Of course, they'd get Johnny Depp because they said, "Oh, he's got white hair. He looks kind of weird. Let's get Johnny Depp."
Yeah.
Everyone, the whole industry is raving currently about La La Land, and I will very quickly say that I saw the movie. It is technically brilliant.
I say it is terrible.
The music, I was slightly there's like 4 tracks, and then one of them is like stretched out over a long period of time where they keep singing like sections of it. The music is good, but I wanted to be. I felt that the movie's very cinematic, and it has those elements of, again, technically, you feel that it's got those kind of cinematic magical moments, but you don't feel the magic yourself. This is my experience. I felt like I should have been moved by the movie, and I just wasn't. It didn't hit a chord with me in a way that I felt like, wow, I'm really feeling this. And honestly, in retrospect, I found it hard to completely like the main characters, Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone. I never mentioned Sing Street, which is similar to La La Land. That's also a great movie, and I would say it's better than La La Land. Ooh. About similar things. It's an Irish kid who asks out a girl who says she's a model, and then he says, "Do you want to be in our band video?" And then he turns to his friend and says, "Right, we've got to make a band." It's very funny, and if you want something that is about like discovering your passion and dreams and all that kind of stuff, I'd recommend that movie. La La Land, I thought it was great, but it just didn't move me, and that was a problem for me. I was really excited for it, and I'm sure hype probably plays into it, but it just didn't. I didn't feel moved at all, and I was quite underwhelmed by that.
Yeah.
Rogue One, a Star Wars story.
All right, I guess
It's a movie.
it's fine.
I'll say I think it's a good movie.
Oh.
I don't. I did see this twice.
Yes.
I saw very few films more than once this year. I didn't say I saw X-Men Apocalypse. I saw Rogue One twice, and the first time I saw it, I was like, you know what, I really liked it. There was something about it that didn't quite connect with me. And then I kind of read everybody else's opinions on it and saw reviews, and it hit me like why I wasn't immersed into it, even though I really enjoyed it, and I felt the need to kind of defend it. And people who hadn't seen it said they weren't going to. And then I saw it again. You know what? I actually liked it more this time. And then I kind of think about it a little bit more, and I'm like, no, this, and this don't work. It's, I can't... Yeah, I'm not the Star Wars fan that you guys are, even though I do love the universe, but it, the whole, this is an AT-AT, and this is a, these are the two guys from, Copacabana, Star Wars Cantina. I don't... None of that stuff means anything to me, and I kind of groan when I see them, because I know that they're purely fan service. I don't mind that the Empire are there. I don't mind that Stormtroopers are there. The first time we see Tarkin, it's very video gamey. Then the next two scenes that he's in, I think he actually doesn't look that bad at all. And I liked his role in the film. So I'm
fine with his role.
Yeah,
that's
so
the thing.
I like that he's there for his purpose to the story.
I don't mind it so much. It's just part of the whole, I'm just watch a Star Wars film. I don't give a fuck. I get past it for me personally. I don't want to speak for anyone else. Me personally, I feel like it's like, I like the idea that Tarkin was just like, oh, this is mine now. Yeah. I made the Death Star, and it's my beautiful baby. I like that because it adds just a bit more to Tarkin. But, I mean...
What's funny about that?
Is it funny?
Well, what's funny about that is that I never... Because I was so distracted by the CGI, I didn't even know that that's what was happening.
The whole time it's just like silence in Sam's ears, just like, oh god.
I was completely removed from the movie, and I was just looking at his CG face. And then Frank mentioned that Tarkin stole the Death Star, took responsibility for the Death Star off of Krennic. Yeah. And I was like, wait, when that happened?
Yeah.
I get it. I was fine. It's like, whatever, it's a weird thing. But I was enjoying Tarkin's role in the film. I mean, other than that, the characters are just so boring.
Yeah, that's my biggest problem. It's just the characters are so dull and uninteresting.
Yeah.
Some are so ridiculously dumb that I enjoy them, like Saw Gerrera. He's very enjoyable because what Jin, Jin, you came here to kill me? Not much left. Like, that's enjoyable because it's like, it's one of those, it's like, it's either the worst performance I've ever seen or the best performance I've ever seen. And because of that, it might be the best performance I've ever seen. It's just like, he went for it.
He did.
He dove with his big dumb robot body. He dove right into that pool, and he took it all. And I mean, I could enjoy that compared to Cassian and Dory, who is just like a stale guy who it's like, oh, well, he's willing to do anything for the cause, and he's been in the fight since he's 6, but we don't know anything about him.
Yeah.
We don't know why he's not present when Jyn Erso takes his quote about rebellion is built on hope, so there's no connection building there. Yeah. They just happen at one point to be like, you know what, you're all right. And that's kind of it.
Yeah.
It's a good shout. I never actually thought about the fact that he's not in that
it's so frustrating.
And it's
this callback to his direct line, and like, if he was there and heard that, like, you could do a moment where he kind of looks up and then realizes, I should be following this girl. I should be placing my trust in her. And then when he comes later with like this whole gang of people, it would make more sense.
Yeah, it should have been their moment of like, Jin's like, you know what, Cassian? I'm now on your side. And Cassian can reply with that, well, you know what? I'm on your side. I'm going to bring the guys in. But now it just seems like Jim plagiarized this poor man, and now the rest of the rebellion is like, wow, that's great. You came up with that?
And then, but still go, well, we're not going to help you.
We're not going to help you. Bye. His face will do it.
Yeah, biggest problem for me was just characters were incredibly boring. And there's clearly a lot of stuff that's been reshot. Clearly, the sequence where Cassian kills the chap at the very start was added in post, so that they can it's like people say like, oh, he had a character, but really he didn't. He acts like a nice guy who is like suspicious of Jin, and then he mentions that he's a morally ambiguous character. Just because you mention it doesn't mean you are one. And then they clearly shot that scene where he shoots a guy. Whatever. Whatever. If you're gonna set it in the original trilogy time period, I mean, yeah, technically we can't complain about, the familiar settings and scenarios and stuff.
Yeah.
But don't fucking put the guys from the bar bumping into them.
So
and
dumb.
Don't put R2-D2 and C-3PO and don't put Princess Leia in the middle of a battlefield. That makes no fucking sense. All that stuff, and like, oh, I have a bad feeling about. I fucking hate that line.
At least like R2 and C-3PO were there for statistical reasons.
Yeah, they're there to be like, oh, they're in all the films.
Like, I at least understand that.
That's excusable to
No,
you?
No. There's a reason behind it. It's like you could they're in the room.
Oh,
they're like,
okay.
well, fuck, we gotta figure out a way to put these guys in. But were they also going, well, fuck, we gotta figure out how to put in fucking. You better watch yourself, guy.
Butt face and pig face, like what?
Says the exact same line.
Why are they there?
It's so dumb, and they must have to have left the planet immediately.
They did. They bolted.
Yeah. Oh man.
This very much, and I've said this in my review, this very much felt to me like a product of expanded universe Star Wars material, where it doesn't feel like a movie. It's just kind of expanding on little moments, and the main new cast feels very half-assed and vaguely realized. And like at the end, spoilers at the end, because no one saw this movie.
It made no money.
When everyone's dying, could not give a shit. And I remember watching it feeling like a robot, and I kind of judged myself because I was like, I don't feel anything towards these people dying, and I should really care. I should really give a shit that these guys have sacrificed their lives for. And I just didn't care because they weren't characters to me, and I felt that they shot themselves in the foot. You could have just had the group there ready to go, done. It's a heist movie. They're going to infiltrate the Death Star or whatever, an Imperial base. Instead, they have to do we're going to bump into these people and they're going to join us. Again, it felt like Guardians of the Galaxy light. It's like everyone has to do Guardians of the Galaxy now. And I thought Felicity Jones was boring as hell, completely uncharismatic. I don't know what was going on with that performance. It doesn't help that her character is... I don't know, I think she should shoulder some of the responsibility, because I think you still could have had a more expressive, charismatic performance out of that. Because Daisy Ridley's Rey is not the best written character in the world, but as it's been said in other places, she really does elevate that material with her performance.
I disagree with you there,
and that's the main reason I like Rey, is Daisy Ridley. Even though I think that there are moments where she is not the best actress, I think she's still getting used to being in the movie, but she just brings so much charisma and energy to that role, you can't help but like Rey. I didn't respond to this movie whatsoever. As much as I acknowledge that I like the Darth Vader scene, I like it because it's thrilling and it is dark. I admire it more for its execution than finally getting to see Darth Vader waste a room full of rebels. In similar fashion to Titanic being more interesting when you actually cut away from Jack and Rose and you see all the ordinary passengers on board, and it's suddenly much more visceral and emotional and moving. I find it more involving watching the rebels claw at the door. These nobodies that are risking their lives to get the plans out.
Yeah.
My thing with that scene, people love the fact that Darth Vader hacks a bunch of innocent people to death, but I I legitimately felt tension there because I was like, oh my god, go.
Yeah.
Like, even though I know that they
Yeah.
successfully steal the plans, but still, I was like, how do they get out of this? Look at Vader go.
Yeah. And I mean, that technically, when you think about, I mean, like, there's no reason I was about to call him Darth Maul. God, there's no reason Darth Vader couldn't just have like forced the plans to his hand, or like just like ignored everyone else and forced the guy at the back. It's a nitpick.
It's
a fucking idiot.
I will say though, this was the Wolverine and Alkali Lake scene of this movie.
Yeah, yes. Well, I acknowledge fully that it's not Darth Vader. It's like Battlefront Darth Vader, where he can waste a room full of guys, and because like, why would he do that if at the beginning of episode 4 he gets stormtroopers to do the exact same job?
Yeah, when I first saw the scene, I hated it. I was sitting in my chair steaming. So we had gone through this whole movie. I was like, I didn't see a lightsaber the entire time. That makes me really happy. Oh fuck! And then he does like a move where he kind of spins it around like twice. And when I first saw this, I was like, oh no! Look at Darth Vader moving around like he's not a refrigerator. What an idiot. And I was so pissed. I was like, well, this isn't Darth Vader in A New Hope. The second time I saw it, I was able to kind of enjoy it for this sort of horror movie. Like, he's gonna get you, there's nothing you can do about it kind of style.
It's genuinely the most exciting.
He's not that mobile, I realized. The first time I saw it, the fact that he moved was an amazing fact. But
he's got a killer wrist.
But kind of helping him past that point, it's like, oh, okay, he's not as fast as I thought he was. It's a little bit, okay, it's weird, but it's still fine. It's enjoyable, I like it. If I want to, it explains why in A New Hope he couldn't fight Obi-Wan, because he was just so tired. He had a big day. Krennic made him get out of his bath. He had to make a pun. He had to go and go vroom, vroom. Like, he's so tired by that point.
I will say, I love sassy. He is so sassy talking to Krennic. Not only that, don't choke on your aspiration. Yes, I've heard about that. Like, he's so over. Like, someone gave James Earl Jones a shot of
insulin.
They shot of caffeine, and he was just like, like he just.
Well, that's the thing. I can only assume that they were trying to emulate how he sounds in A New Hope. Commander, tear the ship apart until you found those plans and bring me the passengers. Yeah. I want them alive. And it's like, oh, he doesn't sound like that at all in Return of the Jedi. But we gotta have it that way. So. He's all...
And yet it does sound like Darth Vader is 80.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's so old.
It's funny, I didn't really notice that in his voice. Maybe because I was just kind of like, cool. Like, it's James Earl Jones as Darth Vader again. But there was part of me that was kind of like... That hearing that voice was enough to make me go, yeah, that's cool.
My biggest issue is that he's in Rebels, and he sounds like Darth Vader in Rebels more so than he did in Rogue One. He sounds.
I take it. It's a different voice actor for Rebel.
Well, no, from the scenes I've seen, it's James Earl Jones. Really? They used him for some stuff, maybe not all of it, but they've used him for some stuff, and it's much more Darth Vader. But like I said, I think they were going for A New Hope, where he's like, "What?" So they had to make him all silly.
So in Rogue One, he sounds more like Darth Vader from
A New Hope, but in Rebels, it's the Darth Vader that is good.
Yeah.
Very, very finally, A Monster Calls is a movie by J.A. Boyona. Really good. It really moved me. I'm a big advocate for like really out there creative movies that use like creative visuals and kind of fantasy scenarios to get across ideas and themes. It really didn't strike a chord with some people. It really moved me, and I think if there are kids out there experiencing a loved one with cancer, or that kind of scenario, I think this movie could be really good for you. I thought it was very tastefully done, and it genuinely, I moved to tears. I thought it was brilliant.
Oh, nice. Oh wow.
There we go. That is all the movies
that came out.
Yeah, so we basically did Deadpool to X-Men Apocalypse properly, and then we were like, shit, we've got so many more.
Well, to be fair, those were the movies we had the most to say about.
Yes, they were.
I don't know if we could have...
And those are the ones that everyone's going to want to hear about.
Yeah, I don't know if we needed to elaborate more on...
The accountant.
on Fantastic Beasts and where to find them. It's... Look, we clearly saw, a bunch of... This is always fun to do. And come back next year, and we'll get to talk about Triple X Rise of Xander Cage.
Yeah. I also saw Anomalisa, which came out last year in America, but it came out this year here. Probably the best film I saw all year, frankly, but I'm not going to talk about it here because I've got it on another video coming up, hopefully. So yeah, just letting people know.
Okay.
That. Guys, thank you as always for coming on. These are always so much fun.
Sure, this is always super fun. Whenever we get to do this, we'll have to find something else to talk about soon.
When movies stop happening, we'll need a new show to do.
Yes.
But yes, thanks for being on, guys, and thank you to everyone that is still listening. We don't normally go on this long, but thank you for your commitment, and we hope you enjoyed. Yeah, so say goodbye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
And we will see you all soon. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.